good morning. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn, he's Griffin. Ravens win in dominant fashion over the Lions. I'd say surprising. Not surprising that they won, just surprising the way that they went about doing it. Pleasant for sure. Hell of a performance, obviously. We will discuss that throughout the course of the show. If you missed our Project Game Day postgame show, don't miss it again. That's quite silly of you. Myself, Rita, Super Bowl champion Femi Ion Bedejo. Yesterday, Ken Zales joined us and still tried to go after John Harbaugh somehow. Still.
I missed that, don't I?
Josh Charles chimed in as well. We had a fun day yesterday. Join us every game day this season, immediately following every Ravens game. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. The Project Game Day postgame show brought to you by Superbook Sports, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, and AJ Michaels. I keep coming back to something. My column today is a kind of fun by-the-numbers thing that I'm doing based on the Ravens win. You guys can read that when it's up at PressBoxOnline.com. But I keep coming back to something that, like, in hindsight, maybe I should have written my column about because it stuck with me afterwards. It stuck with me, and I appreciated it because we could talk about the performance for forever. It was one of the great performances in Ravens regular season history. It was one of the most emphatic performances we've ever seen at M&T Bank Stadium. We could talk about it for a long time, but there's only so many ways to keep saying, wow, they were great. The next step is, what does it mean? And as I allude to in my column, and I alluded to in the postgame show, I don't really know how to respond to it because the NFL games can be funny things. I don't know that the Ravens are 32 points better than the Detroit Lions. I have no idea what would happen if these two teams played again next week. Sometimes games are creatures of momentum. And clearly, yesterday, the Baltimore Ravens seized momentum very early and never allowed the Lions into the game, and the Lions never got their footing. And we know from having watched football for years that that can happen to good teams. There can just be days where you play a game that instead of it being decided by something that occurs in the fourth quarter, it's really decided by something that happens in the first quarter. And it doesn't mean you're not a good football team, or it doesn't mean that you're not capable of being competitive, or that definitively the team that you're playing against is better than you. Remember, the year the Ravens won the Super Bowl, they also got their ass handed to them a couple of times. You remember how it went when they played the Broncos in the regular season? It happens in football. That's the way that it goes. So I don't know exactly what the appropriate way is to read into what occurred yesterday. I think the Ravens played incredibly well. I think when you say things like, this is what the Ravens offense is capable of doing, that's fair. Or this is what we were waiting to see from this offense, or something along those lines. Does it guarantee that they're going to be high-powered and they're going to score 38 points a game the rest of the season? Not at all. But when clicking, this is what this offense is capable of. That's fair. It doesn't guarantee that they're not going to have other letdown performances. This is the NFL, man. It's a 17-game season. Stuff happens. But it's nice to know what it can look like. What we thought the Ravens were building offensively, it's nice to see it come to fruition when you get all of the receivers involved, and they were all involved early. Within the first two drives, all four of the Ravens' top wide receivers were involved in the game. That's a big sign. I write about it today. 9 pass catchers, 8 of which caught a pass in the first half. In the first half, 8 guys. The 9 is a season high. But 8 of which caught a pass in the first half. The last player to catch a pass yesterday was Gus Edwards, who took the, dump off 80 yards early in the third quarter. He was the last of the Ravens' 9 pass catchers to catch a pass yesterday. Moving the ball around, getting everyone involved, making everyone feel like they're part of the game goes a long way. There's things in nitpick. Odell Beckham's got to start running forward. Like that, he's doing a bit much at the moment. I get it. He wants to be a playmaker and thinks that's what he was brought into Baltimore to do, but he was absolutely not brought here to lose yards. Like, that's not on the list of things he was brought to do. And this is always difficult for players at that point in their career. He's not Odell Beckham anymore.
He thinks he's Tyreek Hill.
That's more problematic. But what he really thinks is that he's Odell Beckham, and this is difficult for players. Like, this is what I'm used to being able to make magic. Dude, you're not here to make magic. You're just not that guy. And that's okay. That maybe some mouth breathers thought that's what you were here to do, but everybody realizes that's not what Odell Beckham is anymore. So let's nitpick. Stop doing that. But getting everybody involved was a good thing. It was a very good thing. Paid significant dividends. So you see what it is the offense is capable of. On the flip side, they were barely running the ball to start the game, and there was actually reason to ask, well, hey, what happens when they have to run the ball? Well, then they had to run the ball, and they went out and they did that pretty well too. Everything, for the most part, worked. The fumble was inexcusable. Justice Hill's going to have to answer for that at some point. It'll be interesting to see, as they purposely tried to get Keaton Mitchell on the field yesterday, how much more rope Justice Hill gets when it comes to this stuff. And it's funny because you can't go back and measure it, right? Because when it happens in a mesh point fumble, they always go to the quarterback. Just kind of nonsense. But as everybody explained to me, that including Femi, of course, who played the position, that's on the running back. When it's obvious that the quarterback has the lane and wants to keep the ball, that's on you in that situation. You've got to let go of the ball. And I don't know if it's a communication thing. I can't get in the nitty-gritty of what the language is supposed to be in those moments to make it clear. I've never been in that spot, that high of a level, to understand why it continues to be an issue specifically with Justice Hill. Femi's theory is he's just a guy that wants to make plays, and he thinks that he knows better in those spots. And no, I should have the ball because I see what I see. But it's the quarterback's decision. The quarterback is the decision maker in those spots. So whatever the quarterback's decision is, you don't get to veto it. You don't get to say, no, I like this better. He only has registered 3 official fumbles in his career, apparently.
Justice Hill?
Yeah, which
okay.
everybody
because half of them are
because, yes, the majority, all of these circumstances where they've been mesh point issues, if it's a mesh point fumble, it goes to the quarterback. It's just the way that it works. And it's not fair on either end because it makes it look like it just adds to a turnover total for Lamar Jackson that's not legitimate, and it protects Justice Hill from these conversations where somebody says, I thought you said he had a fumbling problem. Well, it's more specifically a mesh point. We may need to come up with a new stat for it. It's a mesh point issue.
Like there's half sacks, half fumbles, maybe?
Nah, I mean, like the people that know would tell you that it shouldn't be a half fumble. That should go the entire way. But that's on the running back in that spot.
So Greg Olsen was saying on the broadcast when he was like Cam Newton, when he would tell his running backs, if I want the ball, I'm going to be ripping it out of your, like, you got to be taking the ball until I rip it away. So that made it feel like it might have been slightly more on Lamar, but I guess if Justice, Justice should know that the ball.
We have to have wrestling matches in order to figure out how this is supposed to go.
Like you said, we haven't done this, but
I haven't. But that's why I rely on Femi because Femi was a running back. Like Femi understands how this works. The notion that the quarterback has to push you to the ground in order to complete the mesh point, that seems a bit much But, hey, what do I know? What do I know? Look, man, I'm nitpicking, right? The Ravens were great. The part that was interesting to me, the part that I keep coming back to, were the comments after the game from Lamar Jackson. And I hate saying this because it almost makes it seem like there can be no joy. I want to be very clear. I think that yesterday was a day worth celebrating. It was a great win for the Baltimore Ravens. Today's show brought to you, by the way, by the Baltimore County Police Department. This Saturday, we have reached the date. This Saturday, Baltimore County Police Department hosting a hiring event. This Saturday, October 28th, at the Public Safety Building, 700 East Joppa Road in Towson. If you're thinking about a career in the Baltimore County Police Department, you can go through the hiring process, written test, agility test. All of the application effort can be taken care of right there on Saturday. On top of that, if you're not thinking about a career in the Baltimore County Police Department, you have the opportunity to participate in a community event, have some conversation with the folks in the Baltimore County Police Department, try to continue to build the trust between community and police, and while you're there, it's a community event that's a trunk or treat. So get your kids in their costumes. Nice, safe environment for them to go around and get some candy this Saturday with the Baltimore County Police Department. Phone number 410-887-5542 to find out more, or go to joinbaltimorecountypd.com if you want to find out more as well. Lamar Jackson, after the game, asked why he didn't seem like he was all that overjoyed, right? He just went out and put up a nearly perfect passer rating. Another one of the vintage, brilliant Lamar Jackson performances. And his answer was really great. I mean, I'm all right with winning, but it's still the regular season. We made strides with improvement from last week and earlier this season, but it's just one regular season game. Oh, it's chef's kiss, right? It's just, that's the good. Inject that, please, right into my veins. I think everybody has this is the nature of football, right? It's a week-by-week league. And, Bill Belichick was going to be fired 2 days ago. Now, today in Boston, it's paradise. It's a week-to-week league.
Well, it's never paradise in Boston.
Yeah, that's true. It's a week-to-week league. It's a place where we react to the thing that we have the most recent evidence of. How are things going? It's entirely based on what happened in the most recent football game. It matters not. Like today in Miami, we know objectively the Dolphins are a good team. Don't try to talk about that today in Miami. Don't try to say everything's going well. That's the nature of the NFL. The nature of the NFL is you're as good as whatever you did in the last football game that you played. Dirty secret, that's how our power rankings work, right? Like, I have 2 internal rules. I won't raise a team that lost a game. I won't drop a team that won a game. Even if you're, say, the Cleveland Browns, and perhaps you didn't deserve to win the game, or the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you got the benefit of the officials being like, we're not going to bother to officiate the game. Here's what we're going to do. Do you have any timeouts left? Because if you have timeouts left, then we'll officiate the game. But if not, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here, gang. Enjoy. Even if you're one of those teams that took advantage of nonsense in order to win, you won. That's the nature of the NFL. Those are the inherent rules that I have. You had a bye, you don't move. You don't get to say, well, somehow we were better this week because you were on the bye. You win, you don't drop. You lose, you don't gain. It would take something extraordinary, and I feel like the only instances where that's ever occurred have been things like the other team is so bad and then maybe loses their quarterback on top of it. But you get the point. Those are pretty simple rules. That's the nature of the league. The league is you're as good as whatever we saw from you last. So because of that, the Ravens are really good. And this week there'll be a lot of conversation about. And by the way, look, man, we got to do 5 days worth of content here. To pretend like I'm not going to be a part of it to some extent. I might not be as naked as other people are. Not here. I have other places where I do that. You're welcome. We're going to talk about these things. Big people say, are the Ravens, proving themselves to be a Super Bowl contender? Might they be the team to beat in the AFC? We'll do all of that stuff this week. We will. National shows, they'll do all that. We'll sit back on Twitter. Hey, nice of you guys to come around. Like for some reason we care about what any of those people are saying. We'll do all those things. Why? Because the last thing we saw from the Ravens was a dominant performance. But to Lamar Jackson's point, it doesn't actually matter. It makes us feel good. It's like the guarantee fairy. I can put a guarantee on a box of S.
I can tell you love it because this is why the Lamometer, you moved it up again.
What the hell is going on around here?
I don't know.
Coming in here and messing with this.
I don't know who's touching. I think it was at 24, I believe. Yeah.
24, 25. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Double check on that before we get to tomorrow. I don't know what that's all about.
It was definitely 24.
We're going to feel good this week, and we deserve to feel good this week. But Lamar Jackson's point is well taken. What does it actually mean? Well, it means as much as what happens moving forward. More importantly, it means as much as what happens when you get to the postseason. Now, it's important because you can't get there without doing this. And by virtue of, losing a couple games they should have won, the Ravens put themselves a bit behind the 8 ball in terms of their ability to get there and do the things they want to do. So they needed to make sure they were beating good teams. Does this make up for? It certainly doesn't make up for a loss to the Steelers. You can't win a game against an NFC team to make up for that. Could you say this makes up for the loss to the Colts? Could you say, hey, in another world, you could have beaten the Colts and lost to the Lions? I don't know, maybe. But the point that Lamar Jackson brings up is that it feels good, it's nice, but we didn't actually win anything today. I think what's happened is we cloud, when it comes to the Ravens and how we view them, we cloud these numbers based on things that happened when Lamar Jackson was hurt. And the truth is that for as long as Lamar Jackson has played, has been the Ravens quarterback, every time he's played, there has been a viable belief that that Ravens team had a chance to make a deep playoff run. There's never been a moment that Lamar Jackson has played in a game with the Baltimore Ravens that wasn't meaningful. It's never occurred. So it would almost be silly for Lamar Jackson to be overly celebratory about a regular season win. He's had lots of those. That's what he's used to. He's played brilliantly over and over and over again in his career. So why would he overreact to any one particular regular season win? Which doesn't mean that Ravens fans shouldn't feel good or shouldn't love what they saw. But Lamar Jackson's point, unspoken, is well taken. It's a regular season game. It's won. The guy's made a life out of dominating in these circumstances. All we've ever seen Lamar Jackson do is dominate. Put up historic numbers. So his point, it's chef's kiss. Everybody else in town celebrate. Be excited. Feel good. But for Lamar, it's kind of old hat. Yeah, I'm pretty good. I don't know if you guys have heard. Maybe you forgot because I got hurt. But I'm used to this. Glad it happened, but I'm going to care when we get to the postseason. And the idea that Lamar Jackson is so hyper-focused and laser-driven about winning a Super Bowl and performing well in the postseason is music to the ears of football fans in this area. No, I'm not going to act like we just won the Super Bowl because we beat the Lions in the regular season. It's just a regular season game. That is the good stuff, man. We'll see how they follow it up. All right, joining us now here on GCR, this man has made me cry a number of times in my life. I'm not ashamed to admit that. He, of course, now is with Fox and was on the sidelines yesterday as the Ravens did dismantle the Lions 38-6. He is the great Tom Rinaldi, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Tom, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you, sir. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Glenn, are you okay?
Everything
you all right,
everything
buddy?
is great,
yeah,
man.
Are you doing all right?
I'm great. I'm great, Tom. Everything is good, man. We were talking about these comments from Lamar Jackson after the game, and I got to tell you, as a football fan, I love them, right? Like, y'all can celebrate this. Yeah, everybody in town. And look, it's a great day to be in Baltimore. You know how this goes. It's a week-to-week league, right? Like, how's everybody doing? Well, it's as good as you did in your last game. But for Lamar Jackson to say, yeah, I'm not really going to do that. It's a regular season game. That's all it is to me. Like, that to me is the next level stuff. And I'm sure as you guys were talking to Lamar this week that I have just truly grown to appreciate about this young man, where he is just saying, look, man, this is cool, but I got bigger goals. I want to win championships. And so this is neat. I'm glad it happened, but you're not going to catch me out here, holding a parade and running around like we just won the Super Bowl today.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely on point. We had the chance to sit down with Lamar for a feature for NFL Fox Sunday, and we sort of had a theme of moments, Glenn, right? Where we talked about all these moments in Lamar's life, from the moment he knew he wanted to be a quarterback for the first time, playing ball with his late dad in the yard, to going on winning the Heisman, to a moment that still motivates him, being asked whether he wanted to work out with the wide receivers at the NFL Combine, to the MVP, to exactly what you're discussing, the moment that means the most that he hasn't experienced, and that's to win a championship and to have playoff success in the NFL. You nailed it. As I was listening, waiting to come on, this is old hat for him in every metric. As a starter, check. Against the other conference, check. His ability to throw deep down the field, check. To feather, check. To extend. But look at the play, Glenn, that was almost 10 seconds long.
It's unbelievable.
In the first half with his extension with his feet. And then also look at the fourth down for the first touchdown, where he extends the play, he waits, he's patient, he finds the seam, and he's gone. He is a unique talent. And this is why Dan Campbell called him a nightmare. The nightmare came true for the Lions yesterday.
Man, when he's like that, there is just nothing you can do about it. To your point, the touchdown to Aguilar goes on the eternal Lamar Jackson highlight reel of just, there are only so many humans. There's like 2 maybe in the world that could do something like that. He is a special guy. Tom, did you get a sense for, in the week leading up to the game, in those conversations, and then watching it unfold, there has been so much made of the Ravens with this new offense, with Todd Monken. They didn't play the guys in the preseason. It didn't always look crisp in the early going. Did it feel like this is the moment, it's all coming together, versus, hey, look, it's the NFL, sometimes there's just one game? But did it feel like this is what the Ravens were building to with the moves they made in the offseason and now leading up to this?
It did not, being honest with you. When Todd Monken got on the call with us, I mean, he began the call, and we all noted it with a sigh, with a very big sigh, as if, oh, wow, we still got so much to work on, right? And then you heard Harbaugh, we're a work in progress. And then Lamar telling us, man, we just aren't consistent. There were all variations on one theme. Well, we need to get better. Well, they got better, and here's the great news, Glenn, right? They got better against a very good test, against a team with an outstanding defense, by far the best quarterback they faced to this point in the season. They were all over him. I mean, no matter, again, how you look at it, take a second if you're a Ravens fan. I believe at one point the total yards was 325 to 16. It was 28-0 before Detroit had a first down. We did not get that sense in the meetings. We got the sense that, yes, we need to get better. But Harbaugh did say an important thing to us. He said, it isn't about how we're playing right now. Getting better is the mission. You need to be playing your best later, not now. There's a lot of teams that can play well early. We want to be a team that plays well late. And whether you call this early or late, let's call it the midpoint.
Yeah.
It was a clinic. That was as thorough a beating of another team and we've seen some on our crew here this year, but that was breathtaking.
He is Tom Rinaldi, Fox Sports. He's with us here on GCR. Tom, to follow up what you bring up with the Lions, I was thinking about it. The top 3 DVOA defenses in the league coming into yesterday were the Browns, who the Ravens handled earlier in the year, the Ravens, who they don't get to go up against, and then the Lions, right? So, like, the 2 best defenses besides themselves in the league, they've now put it on both of those teams, and they've scored an average of 33 points in those 2 games against those teams. That's a pretty big statement. To the point, you guys, obviously being the top crew, you see the best teams in football. And I know that this was one performance, and you try not to read too much into one game, but do you come away from it saying, oh, the Ravens absolutely look the part of a Super Bowl contender after what we saw yesterday?
Well, I think, Glenn, you raise a great point. I think it's important. Yes, it is a 1-week to 1-week league. We know that. But I also am always interested in looking at the quarterbacks that a defense has faced week to week. In a way, that is, let's say, a second-level dive on a team's resume. At the end of the day, of course, it's if you won, not how you won, but who you won against matters. And that's why I think yesterday mattered so much. Not only was it a great performance on both sides of the ball, but they beat a very good team. They beat a very good team coming back from London. They beat a very good team when Harbaugh told us a good deal of the roster felt under the weather and was still sort of recovering a bit from London. So, I mean, wow, whatever, you don't want to go to London every week and come back, but that seemed to be a formula that worked. And then most importantly, there's still, you can see, places for this team to grow. I mean, OBJ is still not in gear fully. Obviously, Mark Andrews at some point has got to get his full due. He's not, I understand, the flashiest guy. He's a guy I've known from college. Love him as a person. Love him as a player. I know Ravens fans do too. I know he was disappointed. He thought he could have had another score, maybe had 3 touchdowns. But to see a dismantling of a good team, I think, is a real considerable step forward against a quality unit on both sides of the ball in the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because in our business, right, like what we're good at is nitpicking and trying to come up with negative things to say. I don't know what else to say other this week, Tom, than this is awesome. May it continue, right? It's kind of a boring week for sports radio in town. Oh, the team's good. More at 11.
I will say, though,
if
I do think what makes you and what makes you such an effective host is to point out Lamar's reaction.
Yep.
And I think that's the collective reaction. I really do. Talking to guys coming off the field, Aaron Andrews had the chance to speak with Lamar post-game. I talked to him coming off the field. I talked to Andrews coming off. I talked to Geno Stone. The guys were obviously happy with the win, but I don't think anybody was overly elated. I think they just felt like, okay, this is what we can be.
Yeah.
Now we got to put that together more consistently, right? Because the best teams are consistent.
And that what they should be. To me, still, if I got to be honest, Tom, the surprising part, I think we all believe the offense was going to go this route. This group is the group that has 29 sacks and is leading the NFL on the season.
Yeah.
Kyle Van Noy, 10 days from being on his couch, is racking up a couple of sacks yesterday. That Jadeveon Clowney has played the way that he has played this season which is so far beyond anything. Justin Matabike looks like an all-pro at the moment. This is the part of the story that to me is the wild part. Is I thought this might be the year where the Ravens defense maybe took a step backwards a little bit. Instead, they've proven to maybe be, again, one of the best defenses in all of football.
And you, I know this is going to sound like an overreaction Monday, but you can, in our view, in our research, we talked about it in our production meeting Saturday night, you can point to one player. And I don't know that he's talked about in the highest echelon of the best defenders in the NFL. One player, and the metrics all changing since he arrived in Baltimore, and that's Roquan.
Oh, it's insane.
When he arrived, and it was Harbaugh gave him such a compliment to us when we met with him last week. He said it isn't just his play. Look at Queen's play since Roquan has arrived. Look at what he's done for the entirety of the unit in how he models the right play and how he frees up other players to play freely. You can't overstate, I think, in Harbaugh and the coaching staff's estimation, his value. Obviously, that's why he got paid. We understand that. But he is an absolute difference maker for that unit. And, boy, does he deserves his due.
He's such a monster, man. That will go down as one of the great moves in the history of the Baltimore Ravens. That was a steal of the century. It'll be interesting to see if they're active again at the deadline this year. Tom, can I ask you a selfish one? I'm such a Tom Rinaldi fan. Your storytelling is amongst the best there's been, and I'm a nerdy tennis fan, so I always loved having you on tennis coverage. I missed that. I got to be honest with you, selfishly. I've missed that in the last couple of years.
I miss tennis too. It's great.
But I just wondered, we're not great at giving people their flowers until they're gone, and I just wonder if you'd be willing to tell me what it meant to you to spend as much time around Lee Corso as you did, because to me, he's such a special part of a sport that I love, and I associate you, obviously. I know you're with Fox now, and I love you doing the Ravens games. It's great news for me, but it's such a part of what people think about with you. Could you tell me what it meant to you to spend as much time as you did with Lee Corso over the years?
Yeah, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about him. I love him. Our family loves him. Anyone who's around Lee Corso loves him. He's America's grandfather. Mm-hmm. And there was a time when he was America's uncle. But maybe the best way to say it is he's America's best friend. And he just has a warmth and a nature that you can't help but smile when you're around Lee. Everything he's been through, the way that I think the entire show that Game Day has supported him through the stroke, I think has been remarkable. And I think the magic of Game Day, if I could point to it in one gesture, it isn't the headgear. And it isn't, Reese and his incredible ability when they come on the air. It's Herbie and how he supports Corso. That chemistry is so real and so pure. And that comes from years and years of two guys loving each other and supporting each other. Listen, I love our guys on Big Noon Kickoff. We have the ultimate respect for Game Day. We're building. They have a 25-year head start. We're still telling those stories. We had a lot of fun with a story we did last week where I went down to southeastern Louisiana, an FCS school, and I did a story on a defensive line coach named, of all things, Tom Rinaldi.
I don't know how I have to find that immediately now.
If you get a chance, hopefully it puts a smile on your face. Tom Rinaldi, the coach, is in his 20s, bald, bearded, tatted, and jacked. So as different as you can get from me. So we had some fun with that. We told the story of Audric Estime and the incredible family journey that he's been through to emerge here as a star at Notre Dame. Yeah. We're still telling those stories. But Lee Corso, just simply said, is a treasure on TV. He's and he's a seminal figure in college football and will be forever. I so appreciate you asking me about it.
And I appreciate you going. And I do want you to know, wherever you're telling stories, Tom, I'm going to watch Tom Rinaldi tell stories because it's one of my favorite things in all of broadcasting. I truly
I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Tom, it was great to have you working the Ravens this weekend. Where are you guys headed next?
We go to Dallas for
Okay.
Rams at Cowboys. Big noon kickoff as OU at Kansas. And we'll have a story there about Dylan Gabriel, who's really emerging.
Yep.
And he's getting a lot of love Heisman-wise, and a beautiful thing that he's done through NIL, sort of honoring a family's legacy while trying to help high school players. So we hope people will check that out at Big Noon.
I can't wait to see it. Tom Rinaldi, always appreciate you spending time with us. Thank you so much for hopping on with us this morning, and hopefully there'll be another excuse down the road this season to catch up with you around a Ravens game.
Yeah, we listen. We love Baltimore. We don't get to we're in the other conference a lot of the time. We love Baltimore. So great being with you.
Thank you, Tom. Tom Rinaldi, one of the best, truly. I think everybody knows that. They don't make storytellers like Tom Rinaldi, man. He is as good as it gets. And appreciate him spending a couple of minutes with us this morning after he worked the Ravens-Lions game. Again, this is a good thing for me to not have a whole lot to say negatively. I do think the interesting storyline moving forward for the Ravens, as he brings up Roquan Smith, the storyline this week is there a move? And it might not come until, next Tuesday is the deadline. But if I remember correctly, the Roquan move was the week before.
Yeah, it was like...
I don't think it was deadline day, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so when was it? But it felt like it was like November 1st-ish, though.
Well, that would be next.
Yeah.
The deadline is
was that when
October 31st this year. So, that would make sense.
When was the deadline last year? Why did I feel like it was in November? I guess it depends what week. I guess the Roquan trade was like October 28th-ish or something.
Let's see. It was October 31st.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I'm not sure. Maybe it was deadline day.
Yeah. Wait.
It was apparently a Tuesday, so it might have been deadline day. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the deadline was November 1st last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Yes, it was basically.
More or less, It was the day beforehand. So I take it back. It was not the week beforehand. I am a liar. Still, it could come this week. You just don't know. I think that's the next interesting thing. Like, how do you look? Today, it's hard to see it. Today, you're not saying to yourself, boy, the Ravens really need a blank. It's more, boy, it'd be a luxury to have, or could you still upgrade? I've come back. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I still think that we could get to the end of the season. There could be one game where the Ravens need one individual playmate up front. And as well as they performed as a unit, as much as they've schemed pressure, I could still see that being a problem. But it would be – this is the thing in our business, when you have an opinion and the evidence doesn't back up your opinion, to just keep coming back to it and saying, no, I'm going to spit in the face of my eyes don't tell me that, is the thing that we like to do in this business. The truth is the Ravens lead the league in sacks with 29. So for me to sit here and keep saying, well, the thing that they're most missing, I can't do it any longer. I can tell you that I have reservations still, that I would still rather be getting, one ass kicker. If there was still a trade to be made for that type of player, I'd still be listening to it. But for me to say it's the biggest issue the Ravens face, I'd be showing my ass. I'd look like a clown at that point. They've got 29 sacks on the season. Biggest, maybe I default to trying to upgrade at left guard. And the entire offensive line was brilliant yesterday, but I think specifically in the run game, they could use more of a road grader type at left guard. I thought John Simpson has been okay, but I think they could still use more of a push, a forward push in the run game. Mm-hmm. And so if there was a guard to be had that could help in that process, I think I would listen on that. I would listen about a lot of things. I mean, I'd listen about Saquon if the cost was right. I don't know what that cost is.
If the cost is right.
It's a huge if the cost is right. Because, again, it's one of those, like, I don't think the Ravens are going to be the team that's going to pay Saquon Barkley a bunch of money. So, you know, if you can get him for a rental price, if you can get him, and if you could do a bit where you say, well, we get him for a third rounder and we think we get in a compensatory third rounder back. Okay, you know, that makes all the sense in the world. But I don't think that's what the market would be for Saquon Barkley if he were out there. I think there would be somebody that would want his services more than that, although a lot of teams are probably in the same boat. We're not going to pay him, so what is the market? I'd listen about, you know, safety with Marcus Williams banged up again and the idea that you would like to have Kyle Hamilton play a little bit more slot corner. I'll listen on that. I'll listen about corner depth, that this is the Ravens and you can never have too many corners, as well as everybody besides Griffin sees that Brandon Stevens has played this season. I get it. If you want to try to come up with somebody that you think could be even better than that, if there's a Marcus Peters type that hits the market again, I'm listening on a lot of these things. I'll still listen at wide receiver, I guess. I mean, this is the NFL. I don't think you can have too many good ones. I'll listen about a lot of things, but I can't sit here and bang the table and say they are this away.
Yeah, they're there.
They've got a lot, man. There's a lot to like. There's a lot. Today's show, speaking of a lot to like, there's always a lot to like when it comes to. I was about to do game day again, and just realized I don't need to do game day again.
You can do it again, I guess, if you want.
There's always a lot to like. Watch me. There's always a lot to like when it comes to the Stan the Fan Variety Hour, which is back this afternoon. Stan, Ross, and Luke talking baseball with you at 4:30 ahead of a doubleheader tonight. 2 big playoff games. They'll be breaking it all down, talking some Orioles news. Again, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports or YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline for the Stan the Fan Variety Hour live on Facebook this afternoon at 4:30. When we come back in, Clark Judge, Talk of Fame Network. He wrote about the idea, are the Ravens now a Super Bowl contender after their win over the Lions? We'll discuss it with him next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, October 17th at Mother's North Grill in Timonium. It's brought to you by Superbook Sports and AJ Michaels. And if you or a loved one have a gambling problem, visit helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
The Orioles brought us a summer we'll never forget in 2023, securing their first division title in 9 years. And while the playoffs ended quicker than we had hoped in Birdland, the future is brighter than ever. I'm Paul Valley, and along with Zach Goodman, we'll be with you on the bat-around all off-season, warming our hands by the hot stove. From the GM meetings to the winter meetings to the start of spring training, the bat-around has you covered for every trade, signing, and transaction as the Orioles look to revamp and regroup for another postseason run. You can watch the show every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon at YouTube youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. So tune into the Bat Around every Saturday right here at PressBox.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
The Baltimore County Police Department is now hiring with competitive salaries, including for experienced police officers, starting salaries between over $68,000 and over $82,000 based on your prior service time, accepting up to 7 years of service times with only 6 weeks in the academy, minimum of 2 years prior experience. And police cadet starting salaries at over $32,000 must be between the ages of 18 and 20, but you can apply starting at 17 and a half. Must have a high school diploma or GED equivalent at the time of the hire, U.S. citizen at the time of the hire, and a valid driver's license. So if you have a passion for service and want a career for life, now is the time to join the Baltimore County Police Department. Call 410-887-5542 or visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Sure, Glenn may be in his 40s now, but he looks just as good as he ever has, and he's still as sharp as he ever was. And I say both those things without even a shred of irony. Find out for yourself right now by watching the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program after the Ravens were victorious 38-6 over the Detroit Lions. No, remember, we're going to do pats on the ass this morning. You can't just say all of them. Get me yours. You got to pick 5 Ravens most deserving of praise. Yeah, you can't do that. I get it. I understand why you'd want to, but you got to pick the 5 that you think are most deserving of praise. Rank them 5 to 1. Remember, on your list, 2 must be offensive players, 2 must be defensive players. The 5th can be whoever you'd like, a special teams player, a coach, another offensive or defensive player. Rank them 5 to 1, with number 1 being your man of the match. Get him to me at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. We will go over ours here in a minute. Joining us now here on GCR, always a pleasure to bring back in a friend of ours, longtime NFL writer, Hall of Fame voter. And at talkoffame2.com today, I see, do we now consider the Ravens a Super Bowl contender? And he's telling you to maybe slow your roll a little bit, but I appreciate what it is that he's saying. He is our friend, Mr. Clark Judge, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Clark, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up with you, sir. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, Glenn, you listen to that introduction. Say long-time writer. It's so long that I actually covered the Baltimore Colts.
That's correct. I always say it instead of saying the other thing, Clark. I'll never be the one to say he's an old NFL writer. I won't do that. I refuse to. Clark, I think what you're saying is relevant. Obviously, as you point out, looking on some of the numbers the last couple of years, it's difficult to talk about it. But I appreciated Lamar Jackson's post-game commentary when somebody's like, hey, man, it doesn't really seem like you're all that excited about it. And he's like, yeah, it's a regular season win. Sure, we played well, but it's a regular season win. And I one of the things I like the most about Lamar Jackson is how driven he is about trying to accomplish this goal, and that he's not going to be overwhelmed by beating down the Detroit Lions. I come away from it saying this is an emphatic performance. There's everything to like about what the Baltimore Ravens did, but does it guarantee anything for January? Of course not.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I came away with, because when you hear a comment like that, that's unusual. When you go to locker rooms as many times as you or I have, and you hear something like that jumps out at you, like most people euphoric after a win like that, and they should be, because as you said, it's everything you were hoping for from the Ravens yesterday, especially against a quality opponent like the Lions. I mean, we thought the Lions probably, maybe, are going to be a playoff team. They sure look like they play in division where they're going to lap the teams there. And they look really good. They're playing well on the road. They played well the last basically year. I mean, 13 of the last 16 regular season games they've won before yesterday. So they come into Baltimore and we go, that's a measuring stick for the Lions. And then you get trounced. And so what does it mean for the Ravens? And to me, somewhat the nationwide response, and I understand it, is, holy smokes, these guys are loaded. They're going to be a Super Bowl contender, and they may be. And more power to them if they are. I'd like to see them get there. But because I've done this for so long, as I talked to you about covering the Colts, I'm a little bit cynical and jaded and think that, okay, let's let this thing play out, because I remember years ago when I first started out, a guy from the Denver Broncos said, hey, listen, don't pay any attention to this, and this is when there were 16-game seasons. He said until about the 10th or 11th week, because then you start seeing everyone sort of separate themselves. And when I look at the Ravens' history and Lamar's history recently, it's been cruel to them, honestly. I mean, he's been hurt the last 2 years. They've faded. They've had jackrabbit starts. They have signature wins. 2 years ago, they beat the Chiefs. Last year, they beat the Bengals. Both were defending AFC champions. And so you look at this and say, wow, what do we get from this? And I thought what Lamar said was absolutely right. I like winning, but it's the regular season. It happens, right? I mean, you're going to have games like this in the regular season, and you have games where you're the Lions and you get destroyed. But that happens, and you move on. So I don't know what it means. I think it certainly shows that they're capable of being that kind of team. But what John Harbaugh said afterwards, I thought was exactly right. It shows you what we're capable of being, basically. And if that's who you are, then absolutely you're a Super Bowl contender. But let's kind of revisit this maybe in late November, early December. Jackson's durability is always an issue. The durability of some of those players, they seem to be, that team has been snake bit by injuries in the recent past. But let's just see where we are then. But to say now they're a Super Bowl contender, I think it's a little bit premature.
In the world where, like, who is a Super Bowl contender at this point, I mean, I think what we can say is that they definitely at the moment are one of the better teams in the league. To the point, does it matter who the better teams in the league are at week 8? But I think, to me, one of the big stories, Clark, that comes out of the early season is we had waited for a long time to see the Ravens try to adapt what they are in their DNA, which, as we know, is a team that wants to play cold weather AFC North football late in the season, to where the league had gone. And that, to me, was what was so encouraging for so many people in this town in the offseason was, okay, whatever you feel about the success they had under Greg Roman, the NFL it's just not this any longer. This is not the blueprint to how you win championships. And to say, hey, we believe that Lamar Jackson can do this. And I'm not suggesting they should be throwing the ball 50 to 60 times a game. I think that would be nuts. But to see a team that said, hey, we've got like this thing called wide receivers. It's a new concept we heard about in this market. We haven't seen a lot of that over the years. I think that's the really encouraging part, is that the thing that we thought they could be offensively, Lamar Jackson is showing, yeah, I can do this. This is not the thing where I got to throw. Yeah, I'm good with that. I can handle that. I have that skill set. I think that's the encouraging part, is that they're meeting the way that offense needs to be played in 2023.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. And I think you basically have to take him somewhat out of the running game, because if you're going to run him 27 times a game, which they have done in the past, he just can't survive. No quarterback can survive, and durability is an issue. But, I one of the reasons I kind of stepped back from this yesterday is because, remember, a couple of weeks ago, I mean, they go to Pittsburgh, and they should have beaten the Steelers. And the Steelers always find a way to win games like that. I'm not talking about against Baltimore, but they find ways to win games that they shouldn't. They shouldn't have won that game, but Baltimore beat itself. I mean, passes dropped, the guys were missed. I mean, things weren't ever awry. And I think then we're going, oh, my God, what is wrong with these guys? Now 2 weeks later, we're going, oh, wait a second. They're the best thing since Kansas City. They may be. But I'd like to see how Cincinnati's going to come around. That division's tough. I mean, it takes a beating. Anyone in that division, it takes a beating just because they play each other so often. If you're in a division like Detroit, I mean, they're just lapping the field. Same with Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City's playing solitaire in the AFC West. They do every year. That division's so lopsided. But it looks as if the NFC North is going to be the same this year. That's going to help Detroit going into the playoffs in terms of how they're set for the competition there. But with Baltimore, I mean, do we actually know that they're the best team in that division? I'd say right now, yeah, we probably think so. Now, the Steelers hang around. Do I think they're a better team than Baltimore? No, I don't. Cincinnati, it depends on Joe Burrow. I mean, if Joe Burrow can shake off that calf injury, and trust me, I've had that most of my life from running, recurring. It's a recurring problem, and it's nasty, but it takes a long period of time to get over. If he can do that, Cincinnati's always an issue. And then you've got Cleveland. Their biggest problem is under center. They don't have a quarterback, but defensively until yesterday, they're playing well and they can run the ball. So that division is so wide open, so competitive. I think Baltimore's the best team in that division. But again, as I said, historically, and it's because it's tied to Jackson's durability, you thought this the same time last year, and you thought this at the same time the year before, and we go, look what happened. If you can keep him upright, I think they'll be good if you keep him upright. But that's a big if.
Clark Judge is with us. Talk of Fame 2 just retweeted at Glenn Clark Radio a link to his column, his judgments this morning about the Ravens and other observations around the NFL. Clark, I was just talking a minute ago that what becomes interesting now is this is a team that has suddenly, under Eric DeCosta, become very aggressive in season at the trade deadline. And the move they made a year ago, at the moment, looks like one of the great moves in Ravens history, right, as they acquired Roquan Smith, and the defense completely changed the moment he arrived. If you were looking at this Ravens team, I don't know, it doesn't scream at me that there's one obvious area of need any longer. But knowing their history, knowing how much Eric DeCosta has done this in recent years, I would think they would still have interest in being active. Is there something that you would say, here's what would make sense to me if I were the Ravens and I were shopping around at the deadline this year?
Yeah, I don't know the team that well. I'm not out there every day. But I think just from a distance, the thing that I've always thought is a marquee running back, and that's to protect your quarterback, honestly. And I also look at the issues you've had with injuries in the past years. But, could you get a Saquon Barkley, for instance? The answer is no, because at least the Giants have said they're not moving him. But somebody like that, you look at what San Francisco did a year ago. They got Christian McCaffrey. And I covered that team out in San Francisco. That was a great move because they got Roger Craig from the 1980s and they got Ricky Watters from the 1990s. A guy who can catch the ball, run the ball, produce a ton of yards. I honestly think he should be an MVP candidate because he makes that team really, really complete. Could you get someone like that? And you probably can't, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. And that's kind of probably what I would, go at the direction I go. And it probably contrary to what you were saying earlier about, the wide receivers. Yeah, you've got wide receivers who can stretch the field out and who are dangerous. But if you added somebody, not talk about McCaffrey because that deal like that doesn't come along very often.
Right.
But if you could somehow get a Barkley, someone that you could pry loose, you look at what the Eagles have. They've got a cadre of running backs. I mean, Rashad Penny's on the bench. He hasn't even played. Rashad Penny, I watched in San Diego State. Was a great player. Problem with him is he gets hurt all the time. But when he's on the field, he's terrific. But can you get someone to supplement and maybe lead the core of running backs you've got now? That would probably be my biggest interest.
Clark, what would be? Let's just say that the Giants lose to the Jets this Sunday. They fall to 2-6, and despite everything they've said, they have to sit and look at themselves in the mirror. They say, "All right, maybe we should listen on Saquon Barkley." Like, what is and because it's such a two-pronged question, right? Like Saquon Barkley's special. But this is an NFL where you don't want to pay running backs anymore. The Ravens have appeared very reluctant to spend at the running back position. So do you bring him in assuming he's a rental? And what is a reasonable price for someone like Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at the McCaffrey deal, and I'm trying to think. I think it was a couple twos for him, and I thought that was low. But the reason it was is because he was injury prone. And you look at Barkley, and it's somewhat the same story. He's had injuries in the past few years, and especially this year. He missed 3 games before coming back, and then yesterday I think he got hurt a little bit too. But when he's right, he's special. So I would at least want a second-round draft, maybe a 2 and a 3, something like that. But and I'm talking about maybe a 2 this year, 2 in 2024, maybe a 3 in 25 or whatever. But a guy like that would electrify that offense simply because you go, who are we trying to stop? I mean, we're going to stop Jackson, and we're going to stop Barkley. I mean, they've got guys on the outside. And you look at, Kansas City, they're loaded with wide receivers galore, none of whom, now that Tyreek Hill's gone, is really anything special, but they're fast, and they can catch the ball. And we know about Kelsey. But they supplement it with a cadre of really good running backs. McGinn is really good out of the backfield. He's a McCaffrey type of guy, except he's not as good. He can catch the ball well. So Saquon Barkley's got good hands, and he is productive as a running back. He scored a touchdown yesterday, past that reception. So I just think somewhere along those lines, and I trust Eric DeCosta. Trusted that front office ever since Ozzie got in there. You look at the personnel moves they made. they're all really smart decisions, especially in the draft. I mean, they rarely make the mistake. So if there's someone like that, and it doesn't have to be that particular running back, someone like that, I trust that they'll at least explore it.
All right, I'll bring it up because you included in the column before I let you go, Clark, the tush push, the brotherly shove, the Eagles continue. I've got to be honest with you, I don't know why they run any other plays. Like, I would just keep doing it. Every play, go get your 3 yards, move forward every play. I don't – this doesn't bother – like, this was my thing with the shift, right? Like, I get it. Somebody says, well, that's not what baseball is supposed to be. Like, I understand, but it also feels sort of like a cop-out that no one's adjusted to it. Like, you know exactly what they're doing. You've had a week to practice for it, and you still don't have any sort of answer for it. It's hard for me to feel bad for teams or to think that in a way it seems like banning it is almost a bailout, right? Like, I'm in a weird place.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I've come full circle because at first I thought, well, this isn't rugby, this is football. Then I looked at it and went, actually, it's brilliant. I mean, what they're doing is brilliant. If you want to stop it, then find some means of stopping it. Kind of like you mentioned with baseball. I mean, I love baseball, and I'll be honest with you, I love what the Orioles did this year, and the shift bothered me. And then I said, wait a second. All you got to do, you're getting paid millions of dollars. Just stick out your bat and hit it in the other direction. You can't tell me you can't do that. But they didn't want to. They're stubborn. They're not going to. Well, then, if that's the way it's going to be, we're going to make you beat it, but they didn't. They took the shift out. Same thing here. I mean, you find a way of combating it. And if you can't combat it, I'm sorry, I think it's a brilliant move. I do think that there's a movement afoot in the NFL, especially with other teams, to try to get rid of it simply because they can't combat it. As Nick Sirianni said, if others could do it, they would. And I've seen them try it with varying degrees of success. The Chargers are a team I watch a lot because I used to cover them. They had Justin Herbert try it. He didn't get it. You saw yesterday what happened when they tried a quarterback sneak with Pittsburgh. And, Kenny Pickett, he tries the quarterback sneak, and it didn't work, but they gave it to him and it was a crucial first down. But no one does it as well as Philadelphia. So we go, okay, they've got something to do. Well, let's ban it because we can't stop it. No, why don't you try to do the same thing? Then, imitate it. Like, come up with something better or find something to stop it. But I would not be surprised if it weren't outlawed in the offseason. I know it's going to come up for discussion, but it doesn't bother me either. I sort of am amused by it.
When somebody says it's a non-competitive play, I'm like, well, it's a pretty competitive play for the team that's succeeding. Like,
That's right.
It's very competitive for them when they're trying to milk the clock away against the Dolphins in the fourth quarter last night and going for it on their own 25 years. Like, it seems very competitive to them, Clark.
Yeah, they tried it twice on that drive. They tried
insane.
It twice, and you go, you've got a 7-point lead. Well, yeah, but you know what? It's the safest play in the world. And I'll tell you, Glenn, it takes me back, and this is sort of a long way of going at this and an awkward way of going at it. But in 1994, I was covering the 49ers for the first time. I'd moved up from San Diego. So I'm covering the 49ers. They're playing the Rams. It's late in the game. It's about 2 minutes to go. It's 3rd and 4, I'd say. And the Rams have no timeouts. And I think the 49ers are up by 3 or something like that. And they run a play action with a short pass to Brent Jones, first down. So we go down to the locker room, and afterwards I saw Steve Young went, what in the world was that call on 3rd and 4? He goes, what are you talking about? I said, you put the ball in the air? I mean, there are 3 things that can happen, 2 of which are bad. He goes, you haven't been around here long, have you? And I said, no, I haven't. He goes, that's the safest play we've got. It's safer to me than a run because I know it's nothing more than a long handoff. And it turns out he was right. I covered him for years and realized that was their MO. It's the same thing with Philadelphia. They're not afraid because they know it'll work. They're confident in it. And it showed last night.
Now, if you're getting ready to play the Eagles, I don't know why you're not devising schemes for 2 weeks, like coming up with maybe we throw this at them because they're lining up and telling you what they're doing. They're announcing ahead of time. We're going for the tush push. You should have. It's what it is. Clark, we can do this for a long time.
I know that I think they're 41 of 44
That's
under Nick
crazy,
Sirianni. I want to know the 3 teams or the 3 times they didn't get it.
I sure don't remember them. Yeah, I don't remember any time it didn't work. When you pulled that number out, I was like, wait, it failed at some point? I feel like you'd be watching Haley's Comment in that moment. At Clark Judge.
They probably fumbled the snap.
That might be what it is. Yeah, right? They had to board it. Exactly right. That's the only way it didn't work. At Clark Judge TOF on Twitter is how you follow him. Of course, Talk of Fame too Check out the judgments today with a lot of Ravens in there. Clark Judge, always appreciate you, sir. Great to hear your voice. Thanks for spending a couple of minutes with us this morning.
Great to hear from you, Glenn. Thanks for the call.
Great Clark Judge with us here on GCR. We talk a lot of Hall of Fame with him over the years, but good opportunity to just chat about the Ravens. I don't know what I'd be willing to pay. Like, if the Giants lost on Sunday, and that's not a given because they're playing the Jets. I know the Jets beat the Eagles and coming off a bye, but that's still Zach Wilson that you're sending out there, so it's not a given.
And then they just coming off a big win over the Commanders.
Giants, big momentum building
So.
victory, an emphatic 14-point performance. But if they were to lose that game and they were to fall to 2-6 and they were to wake up Monday morning and say, all right, let's listen, it'd be a very difficult thing because to the point, if you're going to pay Saquon Barkley and keep him around for a couple of years, particularly when you have serious questions about the running back position moving forward. If there's a world where you could do like a 2-year extension for Saquon Barkley, then there's probably a larger price. And when you say, it was, I think it was a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th for McCaffrey last year, well, we established that McCaffrey's a little bit different. So the price for this player can't be the price for McCaffrey. Also, you got to sign him. But if you say it was a 2nd and 4th, well, you could, again, do the math and say, well, you're going to recoup something, but you can't just give away second-round picks for free. That was the difficult part. Like if you say, hey, we're going to recoup a pick, so that makes up for one of them, it still feels like you're giving away a third-round pick in the process. Well, you'd be willing to do that. I'm not doing rough math here. Like, I'd have to add the value of a 2nd and a 4th together, measured against a compensatory 3rd. It feels like what you're trading off is that you're giving up, like, sort of an early to mid-3rd-round pick. And if you were going to keep Saquon Barkley for another couple of years, you'd probably say, well, worth it, right? Like, if that's what we're getting for that cost, we can do it. Now you're also not getting the compensatory pick back, so you really are giving up 2 picks in the process, but you're getting the player. This is all the calculus you have to do when you have these conversations. I'm not opposed to Saquon Barkley. I don't think it's legitimate. I think it's cost prohibitive. But I do think the impact is real. And as we see that the Ravens have had issues, to me, that's why you go try to upgrade at guard, right? Can you find for a lesser cost? Is there a guard that's out there that would be an upgrade that isn't helping a team that you could have for a 5th-round pick? I just don't know because I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not checking in on all the guards around the NFL. I don't know who the guards are. I don't think you want any of the Commanders' offensive linemen. I'm pretty sure Sam Howell right now is being sacked somewhere. Not that I think that Sam Howell would be a great quarterback.
If he had a good guard, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been sacked like 1 billion times this season.
Sounds right, yeah.
Yes, I don't know if it's exactly that number. Like, I don't know who the Panthers guards are. I don't know who I just don't pay attention the same way to know, like, who the bad. The Broncos won yesterday, so maybe they don't think they're a bad team anymore. I don't know who the Broncos guards are. Is Quinn Miners still there? I'll take Quinn Miners just because I think he's dope. I don't even know if he's playing well. But I'll take him just because I like the guy. Who are the Bears guards? They also won a game yesterday, so maybe they don't want to trade away their guys. But yeah, I get the excitement about Saquon Barkley. It's a cost question that I don't have the answer to. All right, let's go ahead. Why don't we'll take a break after we do. Let's do picks recap. Then we can get into pats on the ass. What?
Kevin Dotson is the highest graded guard, like in terms of blocking on PFF. So, and he was just traded. The Steelers traded him, obviously. So that's why I think it's funny. He's on the Rams now.
I didn't know where he was, to be honest with you.
Yes,
I had
he's
no
on the
idea
Rams,
where
and
he
so
was.
I find that funny that the Steelers are always having problems with their line. Dan Moore still starting, and
that is pretty funny.
Kevin Dotson having a good year.
It's a good question, Proctor. Who the home team is for the Jets-Giants game on Sunday? I am not.
It's New York.
I don't know. I really don't know. It's got to be funny too. I wonder if you have to use a different locker room. Like, is there a permanent home locker room and a permanent road locker room, or is there a permanent Giants locker room and a permanent Jets locker room?
Maybe, that is.
I genuinely don't know because who's ever cared, right? Like, why would These teams have been so bad that, like, why would anyone give a rat's ass about a Jets-Giants matchup? But I do wonder, like, if you have to go, you show up to go to work that day, and they're like, actually, you have to go to this locker room today. They're like, what? I come here for work all the time. They're like, right, but today you have to go to this locker room. I imagine it's awkward, too, for, like, tickets for this week, right? Because, like, you're used to, well, the game's at home. I'm going to the game. And then they're like, right, you have to pay a lot more for this one.
Yeah.
Like, a lot more. All right, let's do picks recap. Picks recap. What?
Do we have?
Oh, it wasn't.
Let's keep talking about who's the home team in New York.
Sure, it's a much more interesting topic, I guess. It wasn't a great week for me. Let's not kid ourselves. It was fine. Picks recap.
So we just move on.
We're not gonna move on. We're gonna do it. We have to do it. But it wasn't. It was. I went 4 and 5. It wasn't as bad as you, obviously, but it wasn't great. In fact, there were only great weeks for it. Everybody was under 500 this week except for 2 people. Big movement for our. Oh, that's why Proctor checked in all of a sudden. I just realized that.
His spidey sense was tingling.
He was like, I feel like it's time.
It's time for picks.
Feel like it's time. Yeah, big movement for John Proctor. And some movement for Jeremy Conn. First time he's ever made some movement this week. So we'll get into that. Picks recap brought to you by Superbook. That's where all the odds came from. If for some reason you woke up today and you said to yourself, boy, I wonder what the Ravens Super Bowl odds are. Well, I'll tell you, they're still only the 6th favorite, according to Superbook. And they're still behind the Dallas Cowboys. Those numbers don't seem right to me.
Is it a thing that maybe just more
Think
people
we
have bet
the Cowboys? Yeah, I think that has something to do with it for sure. They're still behind the Dolphins, despite the Dolphins looking pretty piss poor last night. You can get the Ravens at plus 1,400, tied with the Bills and the Lions, who they just thrashed yesterday. So you're feeling froggy after what the Ravens did yesterday. Get over to Superbook.com, download the Superbook app, use the code GlennClark23, and maybe get in on a nice futures bet with the Ravens at plus 1,400 to win the Super Bowl. Just for the record, the numbers to win the division, they're at plus 700, tied with the Bills. Sorry, to win the conference. Yeah. They win the AFC, plus 700. For some reason, the division odds are locked today. I don't know what that reasoning would be, but such is life. Such is life. Plus 700 to win the AFC, plus 1,400 to win the Super Bowl for the Ravens. Get in. GlennClark23 is the code. When you do, you'll receive a same-day first bet match up to $250, win or lose. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23. Yeah, let's talk about it. The college games. Did you see what happened at the end of Air Force Navy?
I did not, actually.
Oh, you would be better off not knowing. You'd be better off not knowing. 17-0 game. Air Force respectfully kind of calls off the dogs. Navy marches down, scores a touchdown. It's 17-6. Would there be any benefit at all in a 17-6 game with, I don't know what the time was left, but it was not, like a minute left.
Really? That's how they got 6?
Any benefit at all to them going for 2?
Let's see. That would make it an 11 to a 9. Yeah, no.
None.
No, there wouldn't be.
Guess what they did?
That's what happened.
They went for 2.
Oh my gosh,
if
man!
If they had kicked the extra point, y'all get your cover. They went for 2 and failed and lost by 11.
That's.
Woo, boy! We know who's not playing for the alums. We know. That man, Brian Newberry, no James Franklin. He ain't worried about it. Just trying to coach in those moments. Let's go run an offensive play. See if we can't make it work. We know that the extra point group works, so let's see if we can't do that. Oh, buddy.
Man.
So that was good news for all of us that were on Air Force. Not great news, as that one was pretty split between our group. Penn State, Ohio State. By the way, that was one of the 3 games Jeremy Conn got wrong this week, so he could have had a 7-2 week, too. Penn State, Ohio State. Yeah, never believe in Penn State. Drew Aller stunk. The Ohio State defense is very good, and Marvin Harrison is obviously otherworldly. There's an argument, particularly after Michael Penix stunk this week, there's an argument that Marvin Harrison's the best player in college football. and it'll be interesting to see how that continues to unfold. Because Washington played so late on Saturday night, I mean, they were dreadful.
Right.
They got
they won 15-7,
and they got a pick six that they were awful against Arizona State at home on Saturday night.
A little letdown. It's okay.
It was enough that I had, like an idiot, I stayed awake. I'm like, man, they might lose, but instead I was just up until 2 in the morning watching
Washington win.
Washington win anyway. But
diehard Washington fan over here.
yeah, sure. Anyway, that game was also split. Myself, Griffin, Kyle, KZ, and John from Little Rock were all on Penn State. Never, ever trust Penn State. Don't do it. They lose 20-6.
Clearly. God.
And then this one was interesting as well, as Duke was actually leading Florida State until Riley Leonard came out of the game. And the moment that they did, Florida State was able to turn it all around and pile it on en route to a 17-point victory and a cover. So missing out were Ryan Shell, Andrew Stecca, and John in Little Rock.
That will be the last time I win.
Oh,
yeah.
boy. Well, I mean, you won on Thursday night in the NFL game because you had the Jaguars.
Right.
But yes,
so
for the weekend.
The rest of the weekend,
the Sunday you went over is the point that you're trying to make. Yeah, the Thursday night game, Jacksonville didn't look great. They tried to blow it, but ultimately they recovered in just enough time in order to win. So they were dogs. We were split on that one. Good call from Jeremy Conn and John in Little Rock as they were on Indianapolis. Some drama late, including some controversy about a penalty that aided the Browns on their final drive. Boy, the Colts, they were the victims of a questionable late call, huh? Really feel for those guys, you know. That's terrible when that happens, isn't it? When the Colts are involved with a controversial
when it's against the Browns, I mean.
Late call. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel good about it. Like, I don't want anybody to win in this process. They all stink. But ultimately, the Browns not able to cover the 2.5. They only won by 1. So John Little Rock and Jeremy Conn steal that point. Speaking of controversy, as we referenced earlier, Kenny Pickett falls a 1.5 short of a first down on 4th and 1.
And give him an extra yard anyway.
And the officials are like, let's just give it to him. You're like, okay, well, the good news is we have replay to make sure we get these things right. Oh, we're not allowed to do that because you've used your timeouts. So, too bad. So sad. I'm in a weird place with this, right? Because, like, bad calls happen all the time in football. To me, there's a difference between a questionable call. Like what happened at the end of Indianapolis-Cleveland is a questionable call that probably went the wrong way.
Because it's like supposed to be a judgment kind of play.
What happened at the end of Pittsburgh-Los Angeles is the type of procedural error that like Congress should take back your antitrust agreement if you're not willing to fix. And I know that sounds over the top, but legitimately, it's pure incompetence. The challenge system has always been nonsense. We've just accepted it. We're so used to it that we think it's normal that the coaches are supposed to officiate the games. We like getting kicked in the nuts. Getting kicked in the nuts is the best. It's awful. The officials should officiate the games, but we leave it up to the coaches to officiate the games. You want the calls right, you got to risk whether or not it's going to hurt your team. It's bat-ass. And it's always been easy. And at every other level of football, it's proven how easy it is. In college football, we have a system. Hey, that call was probably wrong. Let's stop. Let's quickly make sure we get it right. The NFL, making sure we get it right is somehow a bridge too far. Getting the calls right? What do you guys think this is?
How much did you put on
football?
the Rams?
No, I didn't put any money on the Rams.
Okay.
This is anybody who knows me knows how much I've harped about this over the years. It's nonsense. Nonsense that the coaches have to be responsible for getting the calls right. It's bat-ass. It is as clown shoes as it gets. And yet we just continue to accept it because we're used to it. Because for as long as replays existed, it's what we've had. For all of Griffin's life, he's experienced it. And because, with the time, it was better than the alternative, which was no replay at all. Just everybody on the planet can see it. Everyone in the world knows that wasn't a first down. for the league to continue. I get it. Judgment calls suck sometimes, man. But at least you can go to bed with, like, hey, it's a judgment call, and that type of S happens throughout the course of a game. For it to be sheer procedural buffoonery that allows a game to be determined, and I have no idea if the Rams would have won or not. But it don't end like this. This is 2 + 2 = 5, and someone failing their math test because they said 4. This is just sheerly wrong. This is calling somebody for 12 men on the field when they actually had 10. It's poppycock. The NFL has failed over and over again at the easiest thing in the world. Just make sure procedurally you get it right. The fact that we can't fix the pass interference stuff is embarrassing. But again, we tried. It didn't work. I don't know how you're going to get that fixed. This isn't hard. In any other circumstance, you would go back and look at it again and say, we really boofed that one, didn't we? And in fact, comedically so that if they had called it on the field a first down, or sorry, the other way. If they had called it short on the field, they could have gone back and looked to see if they were wrong. Because a turnover on downs is technically a turnover. And all turnovers are reviewable. It's nonsense. It's the rule is all the way up there. What do you want me to do? Get a ladder and go up and change the rule? And it goes away. There's something else that we're going to yell about. Not the entire country was watching the game yesterday. There's like no Rams fans on the face of the planet. So who's going to scream about it? The team that took advantage of it? Nobody's going to lose their minds about it because there are no, again, if there was a fan base in Los Angeles, maybe they would scream bloody murder like the Saints did in the playoffs a few years ago. But something else will happen next week, and we will have moved on. We'll go back to yelling about the tush push. That's what we're going to do this offseason. We're going to get rid of a play because the team that executes it is too good at it. But the thing where we try to get the calls right, we're just going to keep saying, sorry, we can't get the calls right. But who has the money for that? In this economy? You want us to officiate the games properly? No chance. And it just continues to be an utter stain upon the NFL. And again, I'm not asking for every judgment call, every, body weight on. I get it, man. Some of that, there's just nothing you can do about it. Two people can watch the same play and have two different opinions. We know because we see Dean Blandino have one opinion about it, and then we hear the official come out and have a different opinion about it. There's room for there to be differences in opinions when it comes to certain penalties. But what there's not room for is this obviously did not happen, and for you to have no mechanism by which the entire world can see your failure, and yet you can't fix it. This is the type of thing that leads people down the road of football is pro wrestling. I don't think yesterday's game was fixed by any stretch of the imagination. It's just embarrassing. And again, the Steelers' defense is pretty good. They might have just gone back onto the field and gotten a stop pretty quickly. But that's how you win the game. You don't win the game by a phantom first down that didn't happen. Because, sorry, we're not allowed to get the calls right. It's nonsense. But it was also nonsense because I picked the Rams.
Matt Canada.
I don't really care.
Looking good.
Yeah, coming to life.
Fourth quarter Matt Canada.
Sure.
That's what they call him.
We were split on a lot of games. There was not a whole lot of. There were like 5 and 6 on most of the games this weekend. Kyle Proctor, John Little Rock, Andrew Stecca, and Jeremy Conn. We're all on Pittsburgh on that one. Kansas City, not particularly threatened. I mean, it was never like a blowout necessarily, but there was never a moment where you actually thought the Chargers.
Oh, here come the Chargers. Yeah.
Never felt that at all. And part of that, I think, is just what we know of the Chargers. Like, they wilt in these moments. That's who they are. That's in their DNA. They kind of clearly They are a couple weeks away from Staley not making it through the season. Although, again, they don't have a fan. That's the awkward. I don't know how this works when you don't have a fan base. When, like, nobody roots for you.
No one covers the team.
Like, who yells to fire the coach? Like, who would be yelling? I don't even know what they do on LA Sports Talk Radio. I assume just talk about the Lakers the entire time. Like, and Notre Dame and the Yankees and all of the favorite teams they have. They probably do a lot of Cowboys on LA Sports Radio. Like, what do they do? Who would yell for Staley? It would require someone to care in order for them to be worked up about firing Staley. But I assume they have to do that. It obviously has not gone well for Justin Herbert this season. How much of that's his fault? Their O-line stinks, which is a little bit surprising. I thought Rashawn Slater would really give them a boost in that department. A lot of bad. But Kansas City covers. Myself, Andrew Steck, Proctor, and KZ were on the Chiefs. Miami, not really all that competitive, to be honest with you. Like, I know it was tied in the second half after the pick six. Another egregiously awful call with the face mask that wasn't called. And then the ball don't lie moment of the pick six right afterwards. You're like, that feels good. But then nothing from Miami the rest of the way. I mean, nothing. And that looping interception that Tagovailoa threw was horrid. I mean, just awful. A lot of people pointed out that, like, if you can take Miami out of the run game, this is now the story in both their losses this year. When you're able to play too high, they're not the same team. We'll see. I guess Achane has to be out for another week, right?
I think it ends up being 2 because their bye is.
Oh, because they have a bye in there as well.
Yeah, I think
Right.
so 3 weeks because two more weeks and then their bye is week 10.
All right.
So,
All right.
yeah.
But yeah, they did not look right whatsoever. Philadelphia wins that one again. We were pretty split on that. Jeremy, Ryan, Nick, John, and Little Rock, and John Proctor all get that point. And then not a lot of bullishness about the Ravens. Jeremy made it his play of the day at ConcreteLocks.com.
Wow.
He was feeling very good about the Ravens.
Should have been
yesterday.
listening.
Clearly should have been. That Lamar's record against the NFC really held up, didn't it? The London thing, I guess, isn't a factor anymore. Like,
the Jags came back. At
teams
least
are just fine. Oh, yeah, but the Bills haven't looked right since they got back from London.
So is it maybe it's the extended London trip coming home?
You
it works.
You have to go for a long time if you want to be okay after London. Maybe. I don't know, man.
And to win in London.
Weird bit. But Jeremy Conn gets that point. So did John and Little Rock, and Paul Valley got that point as well. So, as I said, only 2 of us were over 500 this week. Big week for John Proctor. Huge movement. He goes 7-2 and is now just 1 game back of Ken Zales atop the table. Jeremy Conn finally gets something as Ryan Shell had a tough week. He only won 3 games. Jeremy won 6. So Jeremy's now back within 14 of Ryan Shell at the bottom of the table. Everybody else went 4 and 5 except for Ryan and Andrew Stecca, who went 3 and 6, and then
that was it.
That was it.
All right, cool. Break.
Griffin went 2 and 7 to fall to 32 and 37 on the year, and he drops only to a game in front of Ryan Shell. All of a sudden, he's got to start thinking about what Jeremy's doing every week.
Since I was in first place, whatever week that was,
it's been a free fall.
It has been. I've not been good at all.
Free fall. 6 of us are over 500. Paul Valley's only a game under 500, and then there's Griffin and Ryan. Then there's them. All right, again, playing for a little bit of cash at the top of the table. At the bottom of the table, more importantly, playing to avoid being the one that has to come in dressed like the Notre Dame mascot, consuming blood sausage, haggis, and tripe, as well as a Will Levis-style Irish coffee with plenty of mayonnaise, also having to take an Irish dance lesson, performing said Irish dance, and then singing both Nothing Compares to You and Zombie. That's what's at stake. We'll get that up a little bit later on. When we come back in, we will chat with Jeremy Conn after he made a little bit of movement this week, and we'll still get the pats on the ass. That's all on the way. Glenn Clark Radio.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 7th at Guilford Home Brewery in Station North. It's brought to you by AJ Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? AJ Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Make sure you're tuned in every Tuesday for PressBox fantasy football analyst Joe Serpico to get you ready for your Waiver Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. And if you have other fantasies you want fulfilled, subscribe to Glenn and Jeremy Conn's OnlyFans page at... Wait, are people supposed to know about that?
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. If you have not picked up the print issue of PressBox, go get it right now. On the cover, the survivors, the 4 position players that were holdovers from the Dan Duquette era that ended up playing a big role in the Orioles' resurgence. Anthony Santander, Cedric Mullins, Ryan Mountcastle, and Austin Hayes. Again, go get that right now for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms and the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. Read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Finally had a pretty good week in our league, and now I wonder if Ryan Shell's starting to get a bit nervous as there was a 3-game swing this week. Griffin's definitely getting nervous. There was a 4-game swing there. He is our buddy Jeremy Conn, Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, ConcreteLocks.com, and he's back with us now here on GCR. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
What's up, man? Yeah, it was a good week. Ravens were my lock, so once I saw that on the sheet, I knew that would be there because it's the Ravens game, but loved that one. And overall, it was a really good weekend for me. Saturday hit a ton, Sunday hit a ton. So,
are you aware, I just told Griffin about it, are you aware of how you guys missed the Navy Air Force cover?
Yes, yeah. I saw it.
Just unreal. I was working on Saturday, so I'm leaving the game. I was working the football game at Stevenson. I'm leaving the game, and I've got my friend Pete Medhurst on the radio, and I'm listening. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch! There, it's gone. It's over. And then all of a sudden he says they're lining up for 2, and I'm like, they're doing what? They're doing what?
For what reason? The extra point doesn't matter either. So
right, and that's what I said a minute ago. They're like, Brian Newberry's probably thinking I can just work on coaching up a play and treat it like a practice sort of situation into the game. But still, manna from heaven.
If you watch that
game,
Navy had no business being in it. It's not like Air Force did much either. Like they had a 93-yard touchdown pass, and it wasn't like the 93-yard that you think. It's like, hey, I'm rolling out, and everybody comes up, and I dump it over, and then the guy just takes it the rest of the way.
It was sort of like the Gus Edwards thing from yesterday.
Yeah,
it was
almost
like
identical.
That.
Yep.
I'm not sure exactly how to talk about the Ravens. It's a weird thing, right? Because it was an amazing performance, but we also know this is the NFL, and there are some days that just things don't go your way, things do go your way, and it's almost it's weird. I feel like I should be treating it as though it was a bigger deal, but I also feel like we kind of know better than to do that right now and to just say, hey, it was a damn good performance that's as valuable as however they follow it up.
It's weird because I'm going to say something that most people won't understand. A day like yesterday should frustrate the hell out of Ravens fans because, it just shows you the talent's there. They didn't do that to the Tennessee Titans. They should have done that to them, but they didn't do that to the Tennessee Titans. They did it to the Detroit Lions, who had the number one defense or number two defense, depending on where you're looking, coming in here. So it's not just one aspect of the game. They dominated it in all facets, and they're very capable of doing that to anyone, any team in this league, at home or on the road. So, it's frustrating when you see that because they can do that every week. And hearing Todd Monken today kind of talk about it, or yesterday after the game, saying, we're finally hitting our stride. Like I saw some of that. I didn't like some of the play calling last week in London, but that being said, it was almost a perfect game.
It really was. It was. You had to really nitpick, right? The fumble, you'd nitpick. You'd maybe nitpick Odell Beckham running backwards a couple of times, but you're nitpicking in order to have any problem with it. We're now 9 days out, and the Ravens have been active at the trade deadline the last couple of years, Jeremy. What would you do? What would you be looking for if you were Eric DeCosta over the course of the next 9 days?
It's pretty weird, right? Because, I said all along, a pass rusher. But right now they lead the league in sacks again, and here we are with a group, and then the story comes out about them kicking the tires on Ndamukong Suh and possibly coming in as well. I like that route. I don't even mind the route. I've heard a lot of people talk about making the big splash for a wide receiver, and I know that's another thing where you go, well, do they need one? What's going on with Bateman? Is he unhappy? Is that another swap you could make and possibly upgrade yourself in a position, depending on who you would bring in? I think there are a lot of options, and I think there are depth things to consider as far as if you want to look at cornerback, if you want to look even at safety or offensive line. It feels weird saying this, but the Ravens have been active around the trade deadline, so I do think it's something we should be talking about quite a bit more.
What about Barkley, right? And I know the Giants have said no, but let's just say they lose the Jets. They're sitting at 2-6. Would you, at what cost? Give me the whole thought process with Saquon.
Well, I love it, but I think that's also, that's like the icing on the cake or the cherry on top. It's nice to have it, but I don't know that I need it. It's all a matter of what you give up, right? It's not about the finances for this year. It's about what are you giving up to get a running back first off, and then a guy that could probably help change your future. He's often hurt, but when he's healthy, he's shown you. You saw it yesterday. He's a special player. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but ultimately it would have to be what are they giving up to get it.
What would you, so what to you, right? You're the one, you make the call. This is as much as I'd be willing to offer for Saquon Barkley at this point.
Yeah, I'd have no problem with a third round pick and maybe a player swap or something. If there's somebody that they're interested in, I'd have no problem with that. But I just don't want to give up more than that for a running back rental. I still think that's a lot to give up.
Well, and I'm also in the weird place of what would it really cost to do a deal with Saquon Barkley? That's the part that I can't figure out right now.
What the Colts were saying with Jonathan Taylor, they didn't find fair leverage in trading for him or a fair value, and they were asking for Jalen Waddle and a first-round pick. I don't know what they'd ask for Saquon Barkley, but it would alleviate some of the stress that they have of paying a running back because they wouldn't have to worry about that anymore. But now they're still replacing, what would be a need for their team after that as well.
So Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor's deal was 3 years, $42 million, correct?
Mm-hmm.
if the Ravens were to trade for Saquon Barkley, having nothing set whatsoever at running back moving forward, would you be opposed to the Ravens doing something similar, a 3-year, $42 million type of deal for Saquon Barkley, if we kind of assume at this point that's really what market – I mean, like the $20 million running back probably isn't happening any longer. Like those days are probably gone. And I don't know – like I'm assuming that Barkley would put up a stink about it and would fight and say, I'm going to go to free agency. I'll do the Taylor thing. But if that's what it costs, 3 years, 42, maybe 3 years, 45 in order to make him feel good, would you be willing to go there with Saquon Barkley?
I mean, look, I think that's fair. I think it's definitely a fair deal for a back, but I don't know that if I were running the Ravens, I would probably say no. Like, that's not where I want to go. But, if that's what was made available to me and I'm looking at this season and I think we have a realistic shot of winning, yeah, I think I'm going to try to do everything I can to help this team out and move forward. And I don't think that's game-changing or, team-changing money or anything for a running back. It's more about the length of years I think you give them than the actual money per year. That would concern me more. But a 3-year deal, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, I don't like that. I'm really struggling with this because when people ask me this question, I'm like, I'm okay with it. I'm not saying no, but I don't know how to have a strong take about it because there's so many layers to it. So I'm trying to define
It's almost like you should be asked about a team you don't care about. Like let's say the Steelers were going through this and they needed a running back.
Right.
If you were running the Steelers, would you make that move? Because then you probably as soon as you think about Saquon Barkley being on your team, you're like, well, damn, that is kind of exciting to have those two guys in the backfield. Like there's a lot of benefits to it, but you also have to look at all the other things that can go wrong or that could affect you in the salary cap.
And
or
you add that he's been hurt, a lot over the years, and you have to. I get that you have to consider every layer to it, but I am. Can the Ravens just keep drafting running backs moving forward? Can they just keep trying? I guess they could, but boy, it helps when you have special out there. Like it can't hurt you to have special out on the field. If you're giving $15 million, $14 million per year to Saquon Barkley, does that mean that you're going to lose Justin Madubuike? I think a lot of us have made peace with the idea they're going to lose Patrick Queen, which is a bummer because Patrick Queen's been unbelievable. But, probably the way that it's going to work is he's going to price himself out of Baltimore. So could you take that money and shift it over towards Saquon Barkley and sort of say, well, that's kind of comes out in the wash, right? I thought you were losing Patrick Queen anyway. I trust the Ravens to find more inside linebackers. I'll take a special running back. But if the answer was, if you sign or you trade for and sign Saquon Barkley, you might not be able to sign Justin Madubuike. Well, all of a sudden you're like, I don't know how I feel about that because he's been an All-Pro this season.
I was just going to say, who's the next guy to get paid on this team? Because to me, it's probably got to be Madubuike. But who is the next guy to get paid? It is kind of a.
So the three guys that'll all be up at the end of the year are Queen, Madubuike, and Geno Stone. And I love what Geno Stone's doing. I know yesterday was kind of opportunistic, right? That it wasn't like a particularly great play as much as the ball was thrown the wrong way.
All that counts for him. So.
So I love what he's doing, but I certainly don't know that I'm confident that you're paying real money to Geno Stone at this point. And if that costs Geno Stone, you probably live with it. You already have a lot of money sunk in Marcus Williams. You need him to play. I think you can live with it. Of the three, look, I think Patrick Queen's been great, but I also get it. I think of the three, the guy that's you have to, come hell or high water, this has to end with Justin Madubuike back in Baltimore moving forward. They have to keep him around no matter what. If they've got to tag him, if they got to go through the thing, if this guy continues to play this way, this is Haloti Ngata-esque levels of special that we've seen from Justin Madubuike this season.
Yeah, seeing the pressure up front now too. It's one thing to just do your job as an interior lineman and to help in the run game, but when you can start adding in pressures and then even sacks, it totally changes everything that you can do on that defensive line.
It's crazy, man. Jeremy Conn is with us here on GCR on a Monday edition of the program. All right, let me cover a couple other things with you. How do we talk like adults about the Taylor Swift thing? I'm struggling with this because it's so easy to do the thing where you say, oh, this is so stupid and, the Chiefs are unwatchable. And it's so easy to do that as the immediate reaction to the over-the-top nature of it. And trust me, I rolled my eyes as much as anyone at all of the coverage of her at and Pat Mahomes' wife having a secret handshake. I mean, I rolled my eyes plenty. But how do we talk about it like adults? Like, how do we find the room between, yes, it's over the top. We also understand the league is trying to court, Taylor Swift fans and get them to like football. Like, what? How do we have the adult conversation about all of this?
It's a little weird because I think part of the problem that we inherently have is that we look up at that suite that we know she's going to be sitting in, and she's just surrounded by people that we genuinely don't like.
Right.
Whether you want to talk about Brittany Mahomes or Jackson Mahomes, like how many talks did Patrick Mahomes have to have with Jackson about not asking her to be in a TikTok video? And God knows how long they took to work on that stupid ass handshake they did. But maybe we're blowing it out of proportion. I don't know. But the one thing that, like, I've heard people say, the conspiracy theorists kind of get in there and say, I'm concerned that the NFL is going to give all these calls to the Chiefs because they know how important it is to have Taylor Swift there. And then I started thinking about that, and I go, it's stupid. And then I went, is it? Is it stupid? Like, I could see, I could see a situation where you're getting some favorable calls in the postseason, and then we get more Swifty television. But, like, to be honest, we're the ones that keep talking about it. I know the announcers are, but if we stop talking about it, maybe it goes away.
I don't know. The NFL social accounts have certainly gone way out of their way to
Well, that's
play
why I
it
think
up.
it adds some validity to that stupid-ass conspiracy theory I just threw out. Like, it's, like they've gone all the way in to try to help out with it.
It's a difficult thing for me because trust me, I don't like it. It's too much. At the same time, I am trying to be understanding of it. I am trying to get the idea that, like, we don't want to alienate. Like, we know that there is whatever the group of people is. That in the NFL's minds and CBS's minds yesterday, nobody's tuning out of the game because they're talking about Taylor Swift or showing Taylor Swift in a box, because they're also showing the football game. And everybody who tuned in is going to stay to watch the football game. So, I feel like I'm walking around, the spider webs at the moment. Like, I feel like I'm trying to dodge laser beams here. I do feel like there's a way to have this conversation about the over-the-top nature of it. Like, I thought it was shameful for the NFL to, like, change their profile picture on social because, to your point, that is what allows it to creep. Like, are you playing favorites? Like, are the Chiefs the team that you want to win? Because you want there to be more Taylor Swift, you want that. That's not okay. Like, I don't.
What about Taylor playing? I know Usher's doing it, but what about Taylor playing the halftime show? No. Does Kelsey come out at halftime to watch her perform?
Right.
Oh my God, there's so many great talking points.
So many wonderful talking points. At the same time, like, I really do feel like we do embarrass ourselves when we go all in. Like, well, this makes it's unwatchable. It's a football game, man. Like. Famous people have watched football games before, and we've shown them watching football games. Like, we embarrass ourselves when we go to the umpteenth degree to talk about, like, it's like you have to prove how manly we're. Oh, I hate the friendship brace. Like, Jesus Christ, dude, get a hold of yourself. Like, there is room between these two things for conversation.
I was going to say, I went and saw her ex-boyfriend perform on Friday night at CFG Bank.
So you went to the 1970.
The
other one. Sorry. Yeah. I thought that wasn't 1975 in town recently, too? Maybe they played D.C. Maybe that's
they're
what they
coming
were.
soon because I'm going to see them as well.
Are you really? I used to like them. Like, that record that Chocolate was on, and
the two albums that they put out were great.
The last one, though, was some sad bastard shit, man. Like, that was God. I remember being excited about it, too, because I dig all of their, like, pop fun tunes. And we sat in here one morning after the show, and I remember, like, forcing the intern and everybody to listen to it with me. And I was like, this sucks. Like, this is some sad S. I feel like I've gotten there, and I am not – I'm going to say this. I don't think admitting that you went to see John Mayer is embarrassing by any stretch of the imagination. I think John Mayer's talented.
He's amazing.
I wouldn't have any interest in going to a John Mayer solo show, though. That wouldn't do anything for me. How?
Oh, it was awesome. Watching him pick the guitar and tell us how he plays it, and just showing us some things and merging songs, and kind of like I don't know. Like, I've always liked him, and I found it interesting, like, kind of seeing some of the things and then the different songs he could play solo. So maybe I'll take you to an Ed Sheeran, John Mayer.
Oh, there is that is a bridge too far, Ed Sheeran. I won't do that.
Oh,
I'm in a weird place with John Mayer too, where, like, I liked John Mayer music, and then when he started doing the Sad Bastard stuff, like when he, I think there are people that do that well. And even though it's not a genre of music that I like, I can enjoy it. I don't think these people do the Sad Bastard stuff well. I think it's more off-putting when they do it.
Well,
I'm like,
the one thing you'll appreciate, though, like everybody had talked about, and I knew that he made the funny faces when he played.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, like, how ridiculous it got. Like, he got, like, totally, like, clay face and, like, I guess when you're doing the ooh, like that type of sound, and you're trying to get that. You can only make goofy faces when you're doing it. So,
I guess that's true, right? Like, how do you
weird.
how do you come off stoic in those moments?
Yeah, as he's pulling away from the microphone and his face looks like he just swallowed an entire lemon. You know, what's going on, man?
I know you shared. Everybody in the world had fun with Tom Pelissero.
Oh my God!
Over the weekend, do you remember a particular faux pas that you have had during your broadcasting career? Do you remember any?
Do we have enough time?
Yeah, but I mean, like one like we all say dumb things. I mean, like the genuine mistake, like the words didn't come out right, and you ended up saying, what's the disc one when everybody struggles with saying what is it? What's the disc injury that everybody
bulging disc?
Thank you.
Yeah.
When everybody says bulging dick, right? Like because they're trying to say bulging disc. Have you had one of those types of moments?
Yeah, I've had plenty of those. Like, I there's a couple that stand out. Like, I've had the instead of saying ground ball double play, I said ground play double ball.
Okay. Yeah.
And that kind of stuck for a while with me.
Yep.
I had I know I dropped an F-bomb on the air by accident and tried to catch myself when I was talking about Michael Phelps at one point.
Wait, how did when you say drop? Okay, hang on a second. When you say by accident, because this happened to me once at the old station. What was the terrible mascot that the Preakness introduced, and the guy?
Oh, that's the guy that tried to
Pegasus.
Yeah, and he kind of gave me the Heisman the one day. My buddy was like, "Hey, take a picture with Jeremy Conn," and he goes, "I don't have time," and then gave me the Heisman, and I went, I didn't even want a picture with him, and I still feel like I got slighted.
That guy thought he was bigger than Mr. Splash. Like that guy thought he was some King S. And I remember being every layer of it turned me off. Like it was a DC-based thing. It was clear DC marketing. And, like, because at the time, the Preakness was still spending money with everybody in town, we all had to talk about it like, oh, it's so great. Get your Preak on. We all had to do that thing. And I don't know, one morning, you know how morning radio goes. Like, I got no sleep. I just was not interested. And Drew was still trying to, like, sell no, this is great because they were spending money with us. And I finally just had it. And I'm like, it's an effing centaur. Like, what does it have to do with the It said it in the other way. Like, what does it do with the Preakness? It's an effing centaur. And I said it, and then I started screaming, like, dump it! Dump it! And Drew's doing the bit because you have, like, 10 seconds where he's like, oh, maybe I won't. And so, like, when I said it accidentally, I didn't really say it accidentally. I purposely said it. I just, like, my mind stopped working for a minute. Like, my brain shut down and forgot that I was on the radio. And I just said what I said, which was truly how I felt. And to this day, it was one of the dumb. Like, it was so just small-brained, pea-brained S. But
my best one and the hardest I ever laughed was when I was doing. It's still funny saying, like, I'm doing My Pillow reads. And by the way, just the worst company to ever try to do.
What a good guy! What a all-around.
I mean, you find out after the fact.
Trying to help
by the
make
way,
that guy money.
Just so you understand, they paid $1,500 a month for me to do commercials for him. So I was like,
I might do commercials for Trump himself at that number.
Yeah, and it was ridiculous. But any time that their numbers were down, they're like, "Hey, we want you to do a couple of months for free, and just until we get our numbers back up." And I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that." But anyway, you'll remember this. We had the Gary Thorne where he screwed up, and instead of saying they were in striking distance or hitting distance, he combined those two for you get it. And then we were immediately laughing about that, and then I had to go into a live read for My Pillow where it talked about shipping distance, and I didn't say shipping, and then I lost it. I couldn't gain. Like, I did a 3-minute commercial for him. It was just me laughing my ass off. So as I couldn't say it.
I didn't say fudge. It was that situation, right? Like,
right.
Had one of those.
And then they had to use the soap in the mouth.
Yeah, I did not know that one. That's a good one. That is a good one. There's no doubt about it. All right. Anything else going on in your world? Well, you want to talk about Concrete Locks?
Yeah, I mean, look, no, it was a good weekend over at Concrete Locks, and just trying to piggyback off of that. Like, we get the baseball games tonight. It's just some of these lighter days that make it a little bit more difficult. Like, it's weird telling people, I don't like anything tonight. It's like, well, we're paying you to like something.
Right.
So some days you just don't like games, and it's better to take the day off.
Well, yeah, there's only hockey and a couple of, well, there are the two
there's
baseball
four games tonight. You got 2 baseball games, an NFL game, and an NHL game. That's it.
Yeah, there's not a lot to choose from. That's a great point.
Where's the WNBA when you need it, right?
Right, Siri. What are we doing here? At JCon Sports on Twitter is how you follow him. ConcreteLocks.com is the website. Appreciate you, brother. Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan. We'll talk to you again next Monday, all right?
Anytime, man.
See you, buddy. Jeremy Conn with us here on GCR. Appreciate him taking the time, as always. All right, let's get into Pats on the Ass. Pats on the Ass brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. 5 Ravens, 2 must be offensive players, 2 must be defensive players. Rank them 5 to 1. Number 1 being your man of the match. The second defensive player was tough for me. Like, I think there's just plenty of choices, and there's plenty of choices everywhere, right? Like,
yeah.
I
mean, picking 2 was I wanted to pick all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to pick all of them basically on the field yesterday. Yeah. Picking which coordinator I was going to put on the list was difficult to do, right? Like, it was difficult. A lot of this was difficult. Everything besides number 1 was difficult this week. I chose Roquan. You know, I just thought he was a monster again. He is a monster. He's unbelievable. Plus, I kind of bought into, apparently they really liked his pregame speech. I don't know. I picked Roquan. Whoever you picked, I'll probably be fine with it.
Yeah, I had Roquan until the show started. Then I realized, no, I think I want to go with. So Roquan missed my list, unfortunately. Okay. But I went with Todd Monken right here.
He was definitely higher on my list.
I mean, yeah, you can script the opening drive. He somehow scripted the entire first half.
More or less.
And, yeah. The offense looked amazing.
Yeah,
so,
he is.
Todd Monken, despite the hat, yeah.
Okay, he's higher on my list. Number 4 is Ronnie Stanley. He speaks on behalf of the entire offensive line, but, you know, since he was the one that blocked Kirby Joseph into the harbor on the only play of the game where the game was in doubt. There was one play the entire game where there was any doubt about how the game was going to go. That was the 4th and 1, and he came out and just mauled Kirby Joseph. So, considering that was the only time where the game was in doubt, he gets to speak for the entire. I mean, I thought Morgan Moses was great yesterday. Yes. I got no problem with just about anybody who makes the list. But, again, there was one play during the game where the game was hanging in the balance, and he was – you can say that Lamar ran it in, but he was the star of that play. So Ronnie Stanley's number 4.
I went without any offensive lineman on my list.
I don't know how.
I put Mark Andrews right here. He continues to be a red zone threat. And
yeah, I mean, I'm not telling you it's shameful or anything like that.
On National Tight End Day, we should have known it was going to be a Mark Andrews
I mean,
day.
It's fine. He couldn't be over the offensive line was so dominant and so brilliant yesterday that I couldn't make a list without an offensive lineman. But whatever. I mean, everybody was good. I'm not gonna scream today. I don't have it in me. Number 3, Justin Madubuike. Be fine with somebody having him slightly higher on the list, but goddamn, man, like he's playing so out of his mind. It's crazy. Madubuike, number 3.
I put Arthur Millette right here. Thought he had a pretty good day. I mean, you know, this was he had great coverage on that 4th and 8. This was right after the Lions picked up their first down of the game and might have had any slight of momentum. And you know, he helped force
down like 21.
And he had a sack. Yeah. Well, we've seen the Ravens blow 21 point leads.
Not 21. No. We've seen them blow 10 points
against the Dolphins.
Okay, that was the last time we've seen them do it once.
Yeah, it happens.
Okay. It happened once.
He had a sack in there. He was part of the pass rush. It was, you know, Millette had a great day, as well as the rest of the defense.
Not number 3. I mean, like, it's fine.
Arthur Millette.
He could have been in consideration for number 5, but number 3 is way over the top. Whatever. I'm not going to do it. You're not going to get me to. I'm going to save it for when it's bad, and then I'm going to end this segment. Number 2 is where I find Todd Monken. Just spectacular. And it was difficult, actually, because, obviously you could point out Michael McDonald absolutely deserving of it. But the story yesterday to me was more about the offense setting to the tone for the defense than it was the other way around. The offense came out firing on all cylinders on the first drive, and that set the tone for the football game. So to me, they were both great, but offense just a little bit ahead of defense.
And they knew this was good because they won the toss, and they typically like to defer.
Well, but that was about the wind.
That was more about the
wind. And I do think that was smart strategy. In attempting to set the tone for a game, to say, let's go with the wind in the first quarter, let's come out, have everything on our side. Now, somebody might say, well, aren't you a little bit more concerned about the half where you stink? Like, shouldn't you prioritize that? Maybe, but worked out fine.
Yeah.
Munkin's my number 2.
This is my second defensive player, so it was really tough to leave off after you. We mentioned Roquan. I thought Odafe had a pretty good day in helping to cause some pressure. I had to leave off Geno Stone and Justin Madubuike as well. I put Kyle Van Noy.
Putting Van Noy on your list is fine. Leaving Madubuike off is nonsense.
He was right there. I couldn't. It was tough.
Nonsense.
I went with Millette and Kyle Van Noy. Two tackles for losses, 2 sacks.
Putting Van Noy on the list is fine.
Big part of the pass rush and making Goff uncomfortable.
It's fine.
As everyone did.
It's not a good list, but if there was a day where you can get away with it, I'll give you this.
Van Noy.
I'll give you this day that you can have a bad list on this day because there were 100 options. Look, man, number 1, what else are you going to say? Keaton Mitchell came in.
Good change of pace.
God damn, the speed is there. There's only so many ways to say that Lamar Jackson was great. He was otherworldly. He was superhero-ish. It was breathtaking, and it'll be interesting. I didn't check. Maybe I'll check right now the old Superbook odds to see where the MVP. Nope, They have frozen that one as well. It looks like at the moment he will be their 4th choice whenever they make that live again. So only Mahomes, Tagovailoa, and Hurts would be in front.
Elsewhere, I'm also seeing 4th choice about, do you want the odds and what it will likely be?
We are Superbook people here, so I don't want that.
Okay.
Sorry. I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, but it's just, we're not going to advertise for anybody else. We are going to...
I'll just say other books.
I know what you're doing, but Superbook is the only one that matters. Remind me to check it tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be unlocked at that point. I don't know why they would have locked it today. I mean, I guess Brock Purdy, they're waiting for Brock Purdy's performance tonight because he's the 5th choice on their list.
Why is he 5th? Is he?
To me, it would be McCaffrey. Like if I had a 49er on the list, this is the eternal
8th. It looks like
this is the eternal. It can only quarterbacks are allowed to win the award.
Jared Goff is still top 10.
Like we just that's all MVP is just take all the quarterbacks from the good teams and line them up. To me, as well as Brock Purdy has played for the most part, that's all well and good. You saw last week who the MVP of that team is, and if they're the MVP of the team, they should be consideration for MVP of the league. This is again some of this big brain stuff, man. Like can't get the calls right in football, not allowed to. Only allowed to give MVP to quarterbacks. We're not allowed to think about other positions. It was like the year where the Bills' offense stunk. They suddenly added Stephon Diggs, and they were the greatest offense in the NFL, and we weren't allowed to talk about Stephon Diggs as being an MVP candidate. Everything else was the same, except for the addition of one player. And yet when I said, why aren't we talking about Stephon Diggs as MVP, the only answers I get back was like, I don't know. It's all groupthink, baby. We are no longer capable of having legitimate conversation and discourse. Brock Purdy is not the MVP of the league. He should not be in this conversation. Christian McCaffrey should. He should. 100% he should be in the conversation. I could argue that Tyreek Hill should be in the exact same place as Tua Tagovailoa should be. I don't think Tua Tagovailoa has done his job better than Tyreek Hill's done his job this season. I don't think that Tyreek Hill's had to overcome Tua. I think Tua's played well. But I think Tyreek Hill should be in a more significant MVP conversation than he is, as much as I don't like the person. Jalen Hurts, I mean, I'm good with that. Like, I think Jalen Hurts has been great. Does it with his legs, too. Mahomes. If you want to tell me that Travis Kelce should deserve to be in the conversation, I'd listen to it, but I still think Mahomes, given what he's working with at wide receiver.
He's, like, not even in the conversation for Offensive Player of the Year.
It's just goofy to me. And, that was the thing, too, is, like, maybe Offensive Player of the Year will be the award for like, my God, man. Like, can't we
it is.
Can't we just think? Like, why is it asking so much for us to just be capable? This is like, Griffin always wanted to put Lamar Jackson on the list whenever the Ravens lose. Like, we're just we don't, there's no thought processing. It's just quarterback. Like, we don't know how to talk anymore. We're all babies flapping our arms around. Like, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. What's actually happening with these? Why are these teams good?
Do you think I can get Arthur Millette at Defensive Player of the Year?
Jesus Christ.
Having a good year?
He's having a fine year. Just saying stuff. I don't know. But Lamar Jackson, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. It tends to be that you just watch to see, which quarterback or which team holds on for the longest, and then that quarterback will be MVP of the league. But Lamar Jackson is playing like an MVP. And if his receivers hadn't betrayed him so badly in Pittsburgh, he might be right there neck and neck with Patrick Mahomes at this point for MVP. It's insane how well Lamar Jackson has played this season. He's, of course, number one.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I was waiting for you to try to screw that up somehow.
Tyler Linderbaum played pretty good too. I like seeing him trying to get in a fight. We need that guy.
Sure,
up there in the front.
Sure. I'll take it 100%.
In a 28-0 game, trying to get in a fight. I like that.
All right. John from Little Rock. The Chargers and Brian Newberry have gone for my gambling graveyard. But why were you betting on the Chargers, John? That's kind of
we picked them.
That's not really on them. That's on you. And the Brian Newberry thing, again, he did the right
betting
thing.
on Justin Herbert.
Did the right thing for his team. I respect that about him. He's not worried about you degenerates out there.
Well, he should be.
He's worried about his team, and that's what matters.
Next time he's on.
That's a good man right there. That's a good man who made a good choice. John Proctor, all the Johns checking in this morning. John Proctor said, "You say nobody cares about the Chargers, but what about that lady?" I guess what a country we live in. That lady shows up at a football game, gets internet famous, and then Buffalo Wild Wings pays to fly her to Kansas City the following week, and presumably pays her on top of it in real money. What a country!
This is Mary Ann, that lady?
You think I know what her name is?
The lady from Monday Night Football, right?
Yes, the Chargers lady.
Okay. That was her
what
name.
other lady would there be? Of course, you know what her. Of course, Griffin knows what her name is.
That was her. Yeah, she won. She was using up her fame. Saw her name going around.
Sure,
Mary Ann.
If you say so. More of a ginger man myself, but God, actually, I was more of a Mary Ann man. If I'm being honest with you, I was always team Mary Ann. I don't know. I don't hate her. Like, God
bless. Do you hate more Taylor or
oh no,
or
that's
this
the
girl?
thing. Like, God bless you. If somebody's willing to pay you money, I'm not knocking the hustle. It's just like I just can't help it. Like, she didn't do anything. We're talking about her like she watched a football game. That's not a skill. This is
people still think she was
content creation now. This is the whose content do you enjoy? The guy who shares other people's contents. That's the content creators that we like. Those are the people that we follow.
Dove and
those guys. And the local level, the people that are sharing someone else's content. That's the content that we enjoy. That's who we subscribe to.
Careful.
I just this country ain't for me, baby.
Where are you gonna go?
I don't know. It's the whole planet, probably. I don't think there's anywhere. I think it's time.
Should go to Canada, cover the Toronto Argonauts.
All in on the Argos, baby. All in. This is who we are as a people. This is what we do. We're all in on the Chargers lady. We can't just let it die. We can't just say, hey, that was fun to watch her expressions, but that's not a skill of some sort. It was just a unique anomaly, and then just move on.
I did not know
We've
that she came back.
We've got to F that chicken again the following week.
That's how it works.
Hey, here's more of this lady. Doing what? Is she going to perform songs? Is she going to... does she have a nice impression set that she's going to do? Does she have a tight 5 minutes of stand-up for us? No, she's just watching a football game. Watch her watch a football game. That's not a skill. It was neat for a night, and then it was over. But we can't do that here. This is what we do. We don't skill it. The talented musicians, no. Watch someone hit play on their iPad. Pay lots of money to go see this person hit play and pretend to play the saxophone. That's what we do here. And I understand. Griffin's like, hell yeah, we do.
Well,
hell yeah, baby.
It's a good air sax.
Go watch that guy pretend to play a saxophone. They available where? I'll pay double.
I mean, if he's good at it, yeah.
Jesus. And I'm the one. I'm old man yelling at a cloud. I like people that have skills. I want to watch the actual funny people. Like, no.
You're just jealous that you didn't get put on TV when you went to the Ravens game. Back when you used to go to Ravens
games. God, what I wouldn't give for that to have been a career path for me. What do you have to do? Nothing. Okay. Sign me up. I'm good at that.
She's got to be locked in all 4 quarters. This is
Proctor also calling me out for my language this morning. I did say both clown shoes and poppycock. I'm and I'm sorry. Wait, I said I didn't want to do name calling anymore.
Right.
You're right. There I was using a term like poppycock. That's shameful. Did you want to do a lot? Is that why you grabbed the paper? Is because you felt like you wanted
I thought
to do?
I lost it, and then
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead. We're here now.
Well, hopefully you didn't bet with me this weekend.
Yeah, I hope not.
But if you did, FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino in Hotel Maryland, they have the answer because you can turn those losses into winning opportunities with the second chance to win promotion between now and January 4th. All Live Casino and Hotel Maryland rewards members will be able to enter their losing bet slips into the second chance to win drum, and 2 nights a week, 20 different winners will be chosen. Prizes ranging from Live Casino and Hotel Maryland apparel, sports and social ultimate happy hour prizes, plus cash and free play worth up to $500. Drawings will be held every Thursday and Monday over at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Tidbit and 2 next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Todd Karpovich profiles the Orioles' survivors, Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Ryan Mountcastle, who all came from the previous regime but stuck through tough times to be key pieces in guiding the franchise back to prominence. Also inside, we remember the iconic Brooks Robinson with tributes from Jim Henneman and myself, Stan the Fan Charles, and a trip down memory lane to remember the most significant moments of his career. Plus, we meet players from college basketball programs around the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The Baltimore County Police Department is now hiring with competitive salaries, including for experienced police officers, starting salaries between over $68,000 and over $82,000 based on your prior service time, accepting up to 7 years of service times with only 6 weeks in the academy, minimum of 2 years prior experience. And police cadet starting salaries at over $32,000 must be between the ages of 18 and 20, but you can apply starting at 17 and a half. Must have a high school diploma or GED equivalent at the time of the hire, U.S. citizen at the time of the hire, and a valid driver's license. So if you have a passion for service and want a career for life, now is the time to join the Baltimore County Police Department. Call 410-887-5542 or visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Picking a restaurant to try for the first time? Let's look at the Costas Inn. Here's a few checklist items. Quality of the food? Check. Quality of service? Check. Does restaurant have plenty of free parking? Check. And finally, does restaurant have delicious steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, and specials galore? Check, check, check. Costas Inn, 4100 North Point Boulevard. They check all the boxes.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Don't forget about Project Game Day after every Ravens game this season. It's kind of like this show, except Rita's also there, so I actually think it's pretty good. But hey, you're already here now, so why don't you go ahead and keep listening to GCR?
Was this a female-driven decision? Was this a John Colson, the most worshipful grandmaster here at Pressbox? Go ahead.
I went to see.
You
John
also
Mayer.
went to the John Mayer show.
I did it because a friend.
Your opinion about John Mayer in general is what?
I sort of liked his early stuff.
Yep.
And I thought it was fun, and I thought it was.
I think
he
he's
was
very talented.
Super talented. I kind of dig because I kind of dig that he does the Grateful Dead thing. I thought that was cool.
Yep.
So I was hoping maybe the concert would include a little of that vibe. Like maybe I don't know whether that crosses over or not, but it was 3 hours I'll never get back in my life.
So you did not have the same experience that Jeremy Conn had.
It's part of my fault because I really don't.
But you didn't
deeply know his catalog.
You say went with a buddy. Like this is a dude that you went with?
No. A buddy offered me the tickets for $50 a piece, and they were really good seats.
And so
I grabbed the 2 tickets.
So you went. With.
I went with the female.
Yes. Okay. All right. Did she have a? Was she interested?
Felt the same.
Was she a John Mayer fan?
Moderately.
Okay. All right.
I mean, she enjoyed it. We both enjoyed it. It just wasn't.
I have seen John Mayer. It's been years. But in the early, I mean, I went. Trust me, I've done dumber things with women. I had a couple of different women in my life who were like, "Let's go to see John Mayer." In fact, one time, me and a buddy went to see John Mayer. That's a true story. At the arena years ago, Chris Appel and I went and saw John Mayer together because we were both like, "Dude, I don't care what people say. I like John Mayer." And so we decided we were going to be like, we were the only pair of dudes that were there at the John Mayer show.
And then he decided
we looked around, we're like, really is just not a lot of bros coming out to the John Mayer show. But I'm not, now this is years upon years ago. I mean, this is almost 20 years ago we're talking about at this point. So I say that to say, if somebody had said to me, what night was this, Friday night?
Yes.
Hey, do you want to go? I got 2 tickets to John Mayer. I'm not using the other one. Do you want to go? My initial inclination would be like, yeah, all right. If I got nothing to do, I'll go to John Mayer.
That's kind of what I did.
But if they had followed it up by saying it's him and an acoustic guitar, I would have said, yeah, I'm out. No, thank you. I'm
So
good.
what bothered me the most is it gets probably 80% through the concert, and people that are into him are way into the concert. He's a great musician. His guitar playing was fantastic and all that. And then he sort of announces to everybody, he goes, you know those songs that y'all heard on the radio? Those songs you heard on the radio? Well, you're not going to hear them tonight, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2. And that's because I have to grow as an artist, and I appreciate everybody for accepting me for my artistic accepting my artistic viability and growth. And, I love you all. And I always woo. And I was like, no, I just want to, dude, and he played a couple of them, but yeah. It's like going to see U2 and they don't do their stuff from the first album, the Red Rocks concert. And all that.
The words for this are going to escape me. You want to do that tour, that's fine. Maybe don't charge hundreds of dollars for the tickets. Maybe you say, hey, like, this one's the one for me. I'm going to go do well,
it was sold out. So.
Oh, I know, because I have had this conversation before. I went to see the Counting Crows again this summer, despite the fact that I know better.
Yeah.
The Counting Crows mean a lot to me in my life. They were alongside me for many of the great moments of my life. Like, the Counting Crows are an act that has been significant for me. But, like, maybe the 5th time that I saw Counting Crows was probably the first time that I realized that Adam Duritz hates his songs.
Yeah,
like, hates them with a passion, and is going to play some bastardized version of – he'll play the songs, but he's going to play them the way that he wants to play them because in his mind, he's Bob Dylan, and that's what Bob Dylan does to his songs. There was some of that, too. So I know better, and yet I still go see the Counting Crows every time because that's how much their music means to me. And at some point, I just sort of accepted it. I was like, look, man, it's what it is. He's going to do like some weird slam poetry version of Mr. Jones. Whatever. The band will play it. I'll reckon. I swear to God, John, it's exactly what it is. So I can deal with that. But then I walk out and I think to myself, what about the person that's never seen the Counting Crows? Like, what about the person?
That was me.
That
was me.
They have been waiting. No, but you weren't this because you weren't like waiting your whole life. Like, what about the person? And I always say this, right? Like, a lot of people can't afford concert tickets anymore.
Correct.
What about the person who's like, this is the one expense that I get to have all year is going to see this artist that I like. This is my only. Like, we kind of scoff at that because we're like, well, come on, what? But that's real for a lot of people. You're a single parent. You got a couple of kids. You're working. Like, this is it. This is the one night you get to have all year to go out and have some fun and let down and hear your favorite artist play all of the songs that you love. And then they're like, hey, we're not going to do that. Sorry, you came out to hear me play I Want to Run Through the Walls of My High School? Get the F out of here. Here's 12 songs you've never heard of.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just like the
I will say CFG Arena.
Oh, it sounds incredible.
The sound is incredible. The vibe is incredible, and it makes me feel really good about Ravens Stadium because
you put the upgrades in.
It's actually more expensive than Ravens Stadium, so it makes the Ravens seem cheaper for drinks and whatnot.
Okay. All right, that's a different world. But that's a different world. Yeah, I hate that, man. It really drives me. And it's funny too because
$22 for a mixed drink.
My friend Jimmy Haha, who I love from Jimmy's Chicken Shack, right? Yeah. Like he would always talk about how much he hates playing like Do Right, and I'm like, dude, what? Yeah. Like, a lot of people like that song, bro. A lot of people love it.
Played it a million times.
So I had years ago when I first got to Phoenix in 2006. I was an obsessed Everclear fan growing up. Right? I loved Everclear. And I get this note. They're like, hey, Van Wilder 2 is coming out in theaters. And they want to bring by Cal Penn, who, of course, played Taj. And they want to bring by Art from Everclear, who has a song on the soundtrack. They want to bring him by the studio. And
you were thrilled.
I'm like, are you effing kidding me? Like, first of all, Cal Penn was a movie star at that point in the world. And so, like, you're bringing in a viable movie star and one of my favorite musicians on the planet at the studio. Like, holy S, this is a big deal. So I'm very excited about it. And unfortunately, my co-hosts were not there that day. It was just me. And so I'm like, wow. And at one point, I'm sitting in this room with Art from Everclear, who once pulled me – when I was 16 years old, Art from Everclear once pulled me on stage.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, God.
You were like Courtney Cox?
I was like Courtney Cox in the Bruce Springsteen video, 100%. Dancing in the dark, the whole deal. Nah, it was better.
But it didn't launch you.
It's funnier than that because the song he was playing was called "Loser."
Of course.
So it was pretty fitting that I was the guy that got pulled up. My fat buddy and I got pulled up on stage.
Loser.
We were the perfect choices. We couldn't have been any better. I ripped my shirt off. It was a whole thing. Anyway, moral of the story is, so I'm telling about how much it means during a commercial break, and he said, "Well, are you going to have me play songs?" I'm like, I was hoping so. And he was like, good. I brought a guitar. I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like freaking out. I'm sitting in a room, and it's just me and Art from Everclear and Cal Penn. But, like, I am losing my mind about this. And he says, what do you want me to play? And so I'm telling him, like, my favorite Everclear songs. And he's like, aren't we on the radio?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, yeah. And he said, don't you want me to play Santa Monica?
Yeah, that's.
And I said, well, I kind of figured that you were sick of playing Santa Monica. And he looked at me and he said, I have a house because of Santa Monica.
In Santa Monica.
You think I'm ever going to be sick of playing Santa Monica? And I was like, wow, that is incredible. Like,
Smart.
I very much appreciate that thought
agree.
Process in comparison to, I don't want to play the songs you like because I'm a tortured artist.
Yeah,
like,
that's
dude,
exactly
if that's
what
what's
he
going
said.
on. Show up at a coffee shop on a Friday. Like, just
Yeah.
show up somewhere.
Yeah.
Go to an open mic night. Get your stuff. You're asking people to pay extraordinary amounts of money to come out for a night. Maybe play the songs that people like.
And I just went to see my favorite band, which is probably the last time I'll ever see them because I've never felt so old and young at the same time that I might have been one of the youngest people in the entire building.
Who is this?
Little Feet.
Oh, I wanted to go. Wait, did you go to Hot August?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I wanted to go to that.
Yeah.
I really regret not going because I love Little Feet.
It was.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably a very old audience. I imagine it's not a lot of young people there to the Little Feet show.
No.
Oh, man.
But really old, like walkers and stuff.
So I had, I was invited out. There was a big rock festival out in Vegas this weekend.
Yes.
And I was invited out to it.
Ooh.
And I had said no because I was afraid that the Orioles were going to be in the ALCS. So that felt doubly good when the Orioles got eliminated, that I missed my trip to Vegas for the When We Were Young festival. I felt really good
I saw
watching
the
everybody posting all
saw
their
the pictures.
So many of my friends out in Vegas this weekend posting pictures.
These music festivals for older folks are becoming a huge to-do.
Yeah.
The thing that happened in Ocean City.
Ocean's Calling went off well. It's such a difficult doing the weekend in the fall. I got so much going on.
No, I agree.
The
But I'm just
lineup
saying,
was amazing.
These things didn't
It was
exist.
incredible. No doubt. Right?
This is a whole new genre.
There
It's
was
people that have been to
there was
festivals,
HF Festival. That's what we had. That was what we had.
Yeah,
for
but
years.
but nobody went to festivals before that. Now they're playing off of that and bringing them back for.
Well, you weren't at Woodstock. I could have sworn that. You
Yeah.
were. Start doing that math. Start doing that math.
Come on, man.
You weren't at Woodstock. You sure?
Okay,
All right. What do you
guys.
have? What do you have? What do you have for us?
What do I have? We have Tyus coming up in another
2
week.
weeks from
2 weeks.
tomorrow
2
night.
weeks.
We're
after,
not doing
not
Halloween. We're going to do the 7th.
Not
We will be back
Halloween.
at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North for the next Tyus Bowser show. PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. Brought to you by AJ Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
Now, all those things.
Yes,
that's
all
what
those
we
things.
have.
Anything else?
It's all good. No, I think we're
That's
set.
all we got. You sure?
I think we're set.
Whatever I can
Go
do
to-
for you, John
Go to
Colson.
PressBoxOnline.com and look at the stuff.
Look at stuff. Just click things.
Yes.
Any things
A lot.
at all. Just click many things. Spend, then leave the website
And come back.
up for a while. Yes, and then wander back at some
And then go to CountySportsZone.com.
Oh yeah.
Check your
Oh,
high
I think we're
school
starting
scores.
that tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
we're
good.
starting,
Good. That dude's
the
really
county.
he's
Wes.
He's
from,
a cool
County
guy.
Sports Zone
Yeah,
is
he's
gonna
a cool
join
guy.
us weekly.
Knows high school sports.
We're gonna
like a
we're gonna be doing
maniac.
a segment every week, just talking about the biggest news in the world of high school sports with Wes Brown from County Sports Zone.
Yep.
So we're gonna start that tomorrow, and we're gonna try to do it every Tuesday. There might be a few weeks where it's a little bit off for reasons, but we're gonna try to do that every Tuesday with Wes Brown from County Sports Zone. Just 10-minute update.
Yep.
I like to know what's going on in the world. I got St. Francis again this week. So
Oh, really?
yeah, it's St. Francis Mount Zion. I
How are they
believe.
doing this year?
They started off. They play like everybody now. They play IMG. Well,
Yeah.
They haven't played IMG yet. They play Mater Dei. They play Don Bosco. They play like all of the big
guys.
dogs. And they started off. It was a struggle. I think they started off like 1-4. But once the schedule eased slightly,
Slightly.
I
That's
saw
all
them.
it needs.
I saw them play. Who the hell did I see them play? I did their first game because they moved into the new stadium at Under Armour.
Yeah.
That's where they're playing now. And I did the first game there. I can't remember who they played against, but I was like, this looks like it was some Connecticut team.
Sure.
I'm like, this looks like a big match. St. Thomas More, I believe,
Okay.
is who they played. And like they put their backup quarterback in on the second drive. The second drive of the game. And this was a TV game, and by the third quarter, I had nothing to talk about.
Wow.
Like by the third quarter, it was.
You would run out of all the stories
and
about what
and
the
you
kids
want to
had
be
done.
very careful about like openly discussing the player safety issue. You want to be very careful about that because you don't want it to suddenly look like they're playing. What was the name of the team?
They're playing
the
Bishop Sycamore.
Bishop Sycamore. You don't want to make it seem like this is not a real team or it's fraudulent in some sort of way.
Yep.
But like you're definitely having those feelings go through your mind of like, I don't know if all these guys should be on the field at the same time.
Well, and the irony, of course, being that that's what happened between them and their local conference.
Right, correct.
Is that
so the local conference
was
said,
like,
yeah, we're good. We're good. And then Biff Poggi and his money ran off, and everybody was like, sorry, you're out still. Awkward times.
Okay, guys.
All right, buddy.
Thank
you. This is John Colson,
Go
most
Ravens.
worshipful Grandmaster here at Pressbox. Let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by, this one will be brought to you by the Baltimore County Police Department this Saturday. Hiring and community event at the Public Safety Building, 700 East Joppa Road in Towson. If you're thinking about a career in the Baltimore County Police Department, you can do the entire process. Written test, agility test, application, all of it right there on the site. If you're not thinking about it, you should still show up anyway. It'd be good just to interact with the police, but more importantly, get your kids in their costumes. Nice, safe environment for a trunk or treat. 410-887-5542 is the phone number to find out more. Join BaltimoreCountyPD.com and join the Baltimore County Police Department this Saturday for that community and hiring event.
Adolis Garcia last night.
Hell of a moment.
He became the first player in postseason history to
Some really great theater in baseball this weekend. Between the two games on Friday, I mean, Saturday was a dud, but the two games on Friday, wow. And then last night, I know it ended up being a blowout on paper, but as everybody was watching the game knows, like, it wasn't a blowout until the ninth inning, and then it wasn't a blowout until Garcia parked the grand slam.
First time in playoff history for a player to hit a home run after striking out 4 times earlier in the game as Adolis Garcia came up and did just that. Parked a home run out there. The Broncos, they won after holding a halftime lead for the first time since 2021.
You could have stopped at they won, and it would have been enough of an accomplishment. They won a football game. Wow.
10 straight losses with a halftime lead entering the game is the longest streak in NFL history. So they fortunately will not make it longer. Travis Kelce, 100 receiving yards in the first half of back-to-back games. He is the only tight end to do this since at least 2000, and he is the first player at any position to do this in the last 5 seasons. That's back-to-back games with 100 yards in the first half. Travis Kelce. And, of course, we're seeing the stat go around. In his 4 games with Taylor Swift in attendance, I'm sorry, but this is 108 receiving yards per game. With her not in attendance, 46.5. So,
cool.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs got to keep finding. They got to keep making sure she's there. I think is the case. Also, my fantasy team's going to need Taylor Swift to be in attendance.
Oh, yeah, that's right, please.
Lamar Jackson had his 7th career game with 4 passing touchdowns.
Shows up in my column today.
Oh,
yes.
4 passing touchdowns or rushing touchdowns while completing at least 75% of his passes. It is the most by any player before turning 30. Oh, Lamar's only 26.
You should probably credit ESPN Stats and Info since you ripped it off directly from them.
That is, of course, ESPN Stats and Info with that stat.
Like literally verbatim, the way that it was written by ESPN Stats and Info.
Well,
Griffin's just out here like, it's my information.
I didn't say that.
God.
Do you know who has the most games with 4+ touchdowns
and a rushing?
70, yeah, so 4+ rush, like combined passing rushing touchdowns, and 75% completion percentage.
I mean, I still think it's safe to assume Tom Brady's on the list.
Tom Brady, no. Because I guess yes, he had to have a rushing touchdown. So
you have to have a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, so
that's
Tom
what I was
Brady,
trying to understand in the list, right?
Yeah. So Tom Brady is only at 5.
But it only requires 1, and that's the difficult part. Like, they don't have to be rushing quarterbacks, but I'll still say Steve Young.
Steve Young, not on my list either.
Didn't have as many starts, I guess.
Also
part of the
5
equation.
for Steve Young.
John Elway.
Not John Elway.
So are these not rushing quarterbacks? Are these not?
No, the number 1 is.
All right. So Michael Vick.
Michael Vick is not.
Fran Turkentan.
Not Fran.
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, number 1, 10 games.
How many more are there?
Well, so Lamar is tied for second now all time with 7. So there's 3 other guys with 7.
3 other guys. Got it. 3 other guys. 3 other guys. Still.
3 other guys.
Marino.
Not Marino. And these guys aren't necessarily rushers.
Great. Cool. Mahomes. He doesn't complete passes.
Yeah, no,
at
not
percentage.
Mahomes. That's right. Yes.
Rodgers.
Yes, Rodgers is on the list. 7 games.
That does make sense.
Tied with Lamar.
How about Montana?
Not Montana.
How about
no Niners quarterbacks?
How about How about just keep naming good quarterbacks? Kelly.
No.
Aikman.
No.
Manning.
No.
Manning.
No.
Favre.
Not Favre.
Breeze.
Drew Brees.
on
this list.
Not much of a rusher.
Completion percentage, yeah.
Rivers.
Not Rivers. You said a Cowboys quarterback. Think other Cowboys quarterback.
Other Aikman.
Not Aikman.
Staubach.
Not Staubach.
Romo.
How about current?
Dak
Prescott has 7 of these games.
Warren Moon.
That's it. That's the
the
top 5 right there.
Got it. Very good.
Jim Harbaugh has 6.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Kirk Cousins also at 6.
The other 2 numbers everybody was enamored with yesterday was Fox pointed out that going into yesterday, Lamar Jackson 27.4 points per game in his career as a starter, behind just Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady for third all-time. And then this was, of course, Lamar Jackson's third game with a 155 or better passer rating, which matches the number of games that Tom Brady had with a 155 or better passer rating in his career. So those are some of the other numbers that people liked. Again, I did a by-the-numbers thing at PressBoxOnline.com today for my Ravens-Lions column. Encourage you to check it out. Tubular brought to you today by Superbook. Superbook. Go back there. I guess there's got to be a number for next week, right? Let's see if we can't find a number for next Sunday. Ravens on the road in Arizona taking on the Cardinals. I'm going to guess. The number is...
Before you look at it, I guess I'll...
5.5. I have it. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Yeah, not quite.
This is going to be tricky. Number is 8.5. 8.5 point favorites on the road.
That's what happens when you beat the Lions by 30.
Big overreaction to one game. 8.5 point favorites on the road. Is there a chance that Kyler Murray is playing this game?
I guess there's a chance.
I don't know. 8.5 point favorites. If you want to get in on that, go do it right now. Superbook.com. Superbook app. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up, and you'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose, from Superbook. All right, not a lot tonight, but the stuff that's happening, for the most part, matters. The big one, of course, Canadian Sabres at 7 on NHL Network. Canadiens, yes, sure. NLCS Game 6 is first up tonight, 5 o'clock on TBS. Merrill Kelly and the Diamondbacks try to stay alive against Aaron Nola and the Phillies. I don't like their chances, but, the fact they got us this far, I think, was a little bit surprising. That's Game 6 tonight. There's no football tomorrow night. It'd be nice to have a Game 7. It'd be really nice to have a Game 7. I wish they could almost, do this where they took a day off in the American League to make sure there was a Game 7 tomorrow night. That would be swell, but... So it is. Game 7 tonight on Fox in the ALCS. Rangers-Astros. Max Scherzer didn't look great last time out, but he is Max Scherzer against Christian Javier for the right to go to the World Series. Monday Night Football, 49ers-Vikings, 8:15 on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2. I assume it's a Manning cast.
This one I believe is a Manning cast. Thank goodness.
USA for Tottenham Hotspur, the Spurs, and Fulham at 3 o'clock, and Raw at 8. By the way, I was watching on the internet. It's almost pornography to me, the Wembanyama highlights. My brain is not computing it still. The closeout, he blocked, I think, Thompson on a 3 on Friday night, and he was in the paint and blocked a 3. I have never, my brain is like, that doesn't work. This is a malfunction in the system. It was like when you see things in video games growing up where the game would have some sort of weird,
it's like, what?
Wonky issue, and you'd be like, oh, damn it, stupid NBA 2K5.
They think just 'cause it's Wembanyama, he's going to block. Well,
what in the world was I looking at? It's just insane.
So Peyton, Jeremy Conn's son, Peyton Conn, he started a Dynasty Fantasy Basketball League. He had the 7th pick in our draft. Somehow Wembanyama fell all the way to him. At 7.
Who was taken before?
I don't know. I don't know who these other guys are in the league where Peyton found these guys, but they clearly don't know anything about basketball, and they let Wembanyama. I had one, so I had to go with
Dynasty League?
Yes.
I might have taken Wembanyama in a dynasty. Well, how long are you planning on it? That's the other question.
Right,
how committed are you to this league?
Right, exactly,
too,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I went Jokic. I had one. I ended up getting the first pick, so I felt like I had to go with Jokic.
Was Giannis 2?
I think Luka might have went 2. Luka and Giannis. I think Giannis was 3 or 4.
I can understand in a dynasty going Luka 2.
Yeah, but I mean, Wembanyama should have been 3 or 4.
Yeah,
at
it's
lowest.
Insanity, man. It's insanity.
There's nothing nuts. Let's see. Julius Randle and Mick Jagger. They'll be on Fallon tonight.
No, it's a package deal. Everybody knows. Wait, did you say Julius Randle?
Julius Randle.
I thought we'd start seeing athletes on these shows at some point because, the actors aren't allowed to do them. But Julius Randle?
Promote the NBA season, I guess.
Think about how many guys had to say no before they called Julius Randle. That's the part of this that I love.
He's a Nick, right?
Imagine them going through the list of, you think we can get LeBron on?
Jalen
no.
Brunson didn't
What about, you think we can get, maybe we could call Luka Doncic? No. Okay, well what about Jokic? What about...
Because he's a New York Knick,
but
right?
Nobody. This is it's not a New York local show. It's not like it's airing on Pix 11. It's on a national network. Who gives a flying F? Julius Randle wouldn't even be a lead guest on the Van Pelt show.
They should have got. What if they should have got the manual quickly? That'd have been cool.
I was not going to watch it no matter what. By the way, how nice was it for 1 week that we got to have a good Sunday night football game, and then they were like, and coming up next week, the teams in the big markets that suck again, because deal with it. That's what we do.
Who is it this week?
Bears, Chargers.
Oh, God.
We let you have one. We let you have 1 week. Now
Bears are rolling.
Now what we get? Well, yeah, right.
Fall out of the top
Tyson,
two.
Tyson
draft.
bitching. Everything's changed. Everything's changed. Anything else?
No, that is it.
All right, very
There's
good.
Nothing tonight.
Don't forget,
Sports.
the Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Of course, Shepherd University's Tyson.
That's
Patience.
correct. That's correct. Thanks today to Tom Rinaldi. Thanks also to Clark Judge and Jeremy Conn. We'll get it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, it's so good.
tab at glennclarkradio.com. Tomorrow,
we will have Carter Baumler.
Orioles pitching prospect. He's participating in the fall league, so we're going to check in, see how it's going out there. Also, we'll do our first high school segment. We will do Waiver Wire Wednesday preview with Joe Serpico, and hopefully, stuff and things.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, the Maryland 5-Star, A.J. Michaels, the Baltimore County Police Department, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Superbook Sports, Harford County, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday night. Do we care? No, we don't care about anything. Duke sucks.